Charlie Kirk, of course, for all of us who know him, who knew him, remembered for so many things today. And one of them is his staunch support of Israel. He visited in 2018. I remember. That was the first time I met him. It was at the U.S. Embassy after it had moved to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv. That was one of then President Trump's first term decisions. And Charlie was there also the following year, supporting Israel's war against Hamas and against the anti-Semitism that followed. Watch.
When we as Christians go to Israel, we are celebrated and treated like the most amazing you could ever imagine. Okay, Israel changed my life. When I went to Israel, I was reading Bible stories my whole life as a committed Christian. And all of a sudden, I had a life-changing experience. The nation of Israel actually has a place in God's plan for us on this planet. There's something special about Israel, and I think we have a moral commitment to that land. The Israeli community has been very welcoming of us as Christians and our faith, the homeland.
And it will not go unnoticed. The Israeli Foreign Ministry said this morning Charlie Kirk was a steadfast friend of Israel and a true ally of the Jewish people. He stood proudly for the Judeo-Christian values which bind Israel and America. And Charlie's fearless commitment to truth and freedom cost him his life. Violence may have taken him, but it cannot silence his legacy. May his memory be a blessing. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, in focus now. Prime Minister, you have your own memories of Charlie Kirk. Please share them.
Well, Harris, before I do that, I have to say that we're just heartbroken. Myself, my wife, my family, my son, actually, on his 2019 visit to Israel, had lunch with him and his wife, Erica. We're shattered first as human beings because a great human being has been taken from us. Was an extraordinary friend. He said, he wrote me a letter on May 2nd this year. He said, one of my greatest joys as a Christian is advocating for Israel and forming alliances to defend Judeo-Christian civilization. A few weeks before the tragedy yesterday, I called him and I spoke to him and I said, please come to Israel. I invited him to Israel. And sadly, that visit will not take place. But he was a defender of our common Judeo-Christian civilization. He was unbelievably excited to walk in the footsteps of Jesus here. He valued our bond, the bond between America and Israel. He did so many things to defend free speech. He had his truth. He stood up for it. But he said, you can come and debate me. He invited that debate. He certainly didn't invite the violence, the horrible violence that tried to silence him. And, this is a worldwide problem. The people on the extremes, the Islamists, the radical Islamists, and their union with the ultra-progressives, they often speak about human rights. They speak about free speech, but they use violence to try to take down their enemies, whether it's President Trump, who's been almost assassinated twice, or, they try to kill me here too. But they got Charlie Kirk, and it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, the young people in both our countries look to him, and I don't know what is being said with regard to that right now in Israel, but I am curious. I mean, he is a beacon for so many in his young generation. Your last quick thought.
Look, sometimes people can be irreplaceable. Charlie was 31 years old. He was a great hero of our common roots and common culture. My older brother was 30 years old when he died trying to successfully rescuing Israeli hostages that were held by German and Arab terrorists in Entebbe, Uganda. And I thought about my brother all my life, and I think of Charlie. I'll be thinking of Charlie all my life. They're gone, and maybe they're once in a generation, but generations then live by their legacy.
Amen to that. Prime Minister Netanyahu, grateful for your time today and your memories and your love for Charlie Kirk. Thank you.
Thank you, Harris. Thank you.
Hey, stop playing with your fanny pack. You need the Bearskin Tactical Hoodie 4.0 to get comfortable in the wild. It's the ultimate 10-pocket utility hoodie for fishing, golf, hunting, camping, boating, or conquering foreign lands. Thousands of men trust the Bearskin hoodie to block wind and repel rain for incredible comfort and breathability.
Well, from reports and particularly our own correspondents, things are tightening around the man who they think is the assassin. They are trying to catch him for killing conservative icon Charlie Kirk at a college event in Utah yesterday. It's not still been 24 hours, and the FBI is moving quickly now with some details and evidence that they picked up in the last hour or so. And it's revealing this morning that images of the shooter exist, and you can see those images on your screen right now. If anyone has any information on this person of interest, please contact the FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI, and we'll get that up on all of our social platforms immediately. Authorities are saying they have been able to track the suspect's movements and have recovered the high-power rifle officials say they believe the shooter used in the attack. The FBI is confident it will be able to catch this person. Sources close to Fox News also confirm investigators are looking into what appears to be messages that are written both on the gun and the shell casings, recovered by authorities just in the last 35 minutes or so. Bill Maluzhin has that part of our story. The content of those messages, though, is still unclear. At least they have not revealed them to us in the wider media. This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner, here with my co-hosts, Emily Campagno and Kayleigh McEnany. Also joining us today, Laura Trump, host of My View with Laura Trump, and Lawrence Jones, co-host of Fox and Friends. First, let's go to CB Cotton and get the very latest at Utah Valley University. CB.
Hi, Harris. Well, multiple sources have told Fox News about the messages that appear to be left behind on both the ammunition and firearm recovered from the scene of Charlie Kirk's assassination. So far, the FBI, as you mentioned, has declined to comment on this. But what the agency is saying is that they've got lots of good video of the killer's path on this campus.
We have tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location. We do have good video footage of this individual. We are not going to release that at this time.
Agents say the shooter got on campus less than an hour before assassinating 31-year-old Charlie Kirk, who was visiting Utah Valley University in Orem, which is about an hour away from Salt Lake City. The FBI says the gunman blended in well on campus and appears to be college-aged. Agents say he wore all-black tactical gear as he fired off the fatal shot from about 200 yards away towards the stage, where Kirk had just started answering a question from someone in the crowd. After the shooting, the suspect ran off into a neighborhood, according to FBI agents who say they found a high-powered bolt-action rifle in a wooded area. Other clues were also left behind.
Investigators have also collected footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis.
The FBI is also asking for anyone with photos or videos to please share those with the agency. And moments ago, the FBI also released a new photo saying this could be a person of interest in this case. I know our show producers are going to work diligently to share that image with our viewers. Harris, back over to you.
Yeah, and we are putting up that image of the person of interest, CB, right now, and we will continue to do that. They are looking for the public's help now. They have obviously tighten their net around this suspect, and the public can be of immediate help just in cutting the timeline. They are going to get this guy. 800-CALL-FBI, and the image that you want to keep, that we'll keep up on the screen as long as possible, is there too. We're also, and I'm kind of saying this to you, but also asking our team wider who's listening to flood our social media with this. All platforms for Outnumbered right now as well. Lawrence, well, none of us slept last night, but you were up on the air earlier than anybody here on the couch. And this day has gone rapidly different than maybe some people had thought. And it's in a very good way. We're getting more information. We might be close to getting this suspected assassin.
Well, earlier this morning, there was a lot of trepidation for me, particular, even though a lot of people that I know and love and respect work at the FBI, that we hadn't got a photo. Because That's the first step right here. Injustice is identifying who this person is so they can stand trial before the peers of this country with a jury. And now we have that photo, our imagination based on the person who they targeted, Charlie Kirk, and since he was given a political speech, and since they didn't fire at the crowd, but they fired directly at his head, we knew it was political. Now we got the shell casings and other ammo that have political messages there. So we're getting closer and closer. I just hope that we're all zooming in, all law enforcement. You got to get this guy. Charlie was a representation of a movement of young people in America. And I don't care if you agree with his politics or not. We can't have that in this country.
You know, part of the excitement, too, around Charlie, and I was sharing last hour, in the state of Arizona, he was being talked about in circles of people who were decades older than he. Can't wait till he becomes governor. Like, people saw the trajectory of this young man. But part of the conversation was, could he bring the youth vote? Because young people may get activated and motivated, but until they go to the polls, that's the big difference. And he apparently could do that.
Yeah, he did do that. I'll tell you, as the former RNC co-chair, we worked very closely with Turning Point USA. What Charlie was able to do is really miraculous. When you think about the fact that he didn't finish college, he dropped out of college, yet his goal was to mobilize these students to really change the tenor on college campuses. And he was able to do that. We saw a huge shift in young voters. This election in particular, especially with young men. Charlie played such a huge role in that. I don't think you can ever overstate it. I said this last night on Jesse's show, but I believe that Donald Trump probably wouldn't be president right now without the assistance of Charlie Kirk. What he has done and his legacy, I think, is even too big to comprehend right now. The void and the hole that will be left is enormous. And I'm just hopeful, as someone who cares about, this country and the forward progress of this country, that someone is able to pick up where Charlie left off. Turning Point USA is such an important organization. I'm personally very grateful for everything he did, all the work he did. And you can't go to one of those events without palpably taking in how impactful Charlie Kirk was.
Yeah, I want to get your response in part to what Lara's saying, because what she's talking about is more than a movement. It's a complete political shift. If you get a whole new generation of voters who have the kind of bravery to speak out that he embodied.
Yeah, Lara saw it firsthand at the RNC. I saw the data online today. A 44-point shift in Gen Z men over 2 years. How did that happen? Charlie Kirk. That happened because of Charlie Kirk. And when I look at that image on the screen, I know we have to show it. I know how important that is for law enforcement purposes, but I have rage in my soul when I see that individual. And I want to tell that person, and I hope someone does convey this to this person someday, somehow. Charlie had a light in him, a special light. And you might have thought you extinguished that light, but boy, did you not extinguish that light. You set a raging fire that is here to stay, and it is a fire that is going across the world when you took that young man's life. I just want to share quickly some texts I got, because I've already shared my personal history with Charlie. These are texts I got from people who didn't know Charlie. One mom said, back to school night last night, was shocked and upset. He promoted free speech. He listened respectfully to dissenters. A mom from across the nation sent another text. I would find clips. I'd show them to my 3 sons. They would almost debate Charlie back. I was teaching them to have civil discourse. A father, I did not realize what voice he had with my kids and young people. Jim Jordan called me last night. He said his grandchildren say he is the Rush Limbaugh of their generation. And Chip Roy this morning shared with me a Bible verse his son sent him. And I think this is just sums up Charlie and sums up this moment. 1 Corinthians 15:58. He said this, therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. Charlie's labor was not in vain, and you on the other side of the screen, you lit a raging fire.
A Christian believer, an angel among us versus the devil. It is a spiritual warfare right now. Let's hear from Charlie Kirk a little bit. Let's watch.
I go around universities and have challenging conversations, and because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
I've never seen someone do this.
Well, it's a growing trend because people like me are facing violence, assault. The left. Yes, the campus Antifa. I've been stormed out of restaurants. I've been assaulted publicly, multiple death threats.
Okay, so what's your goal in all this?
There's more people that agree with me than some people would actually believe, and they come out of the woodwork when I do stuff like this. We record all of it so that we put it on the internet so people can see these ideas collide. When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity.
Of all the partnerships we have, tell me it's not the most surprising one that you would think, especially for dudes.
Caldera Lab.
Such an incredible legacy that he himself said he wants to be remembered for his courage of faith. And that's all wrapped up with him unequivocally and at every opportunity advocating for peace and this civil discourse. 4 years ago, someone asked about if political violence was ever justified. And he said, it is incumbent upon us to exhaust all peaceful options. And there was a figure larger than life that represented so much, saying, I've got death threats. I've been assaulted in public. It is heartbreaking that there was a success to one of those measures. That bullet did not just take Charlie Kirk's life. It pierced a movement. And I thought the same thing, Laura. I wondered, in this huge void, in this larger than life shoes to fill, who will step up? And then I realized, but Charlie's legacy is empowering these millions of Americans that have been empowered with, charged with, and inspired by the concept that civil discourse and engaging, thoughtful listening and simply robust debate is the way to move forward, because we are all Americans at one time. And what breaks my heart in this moment is the loss for this nation, the trajectory he was on, and also that he did everything right. He did everything right, which was to espouse the benefits of peaceful, robust discourse. He was doing it all right. Even his fiercest critics applauded him for doing that, and yet he paid the ultimate price for it.
Well, again, we need your help. The FBI is trying to identify the whereabouts of this person of interest. So please look at your screen right now. And again, we are putting this across all of our social platforms. So even during the commercial, check it out. Authorities say this guy is connected to the Charlie Kirk assassination. The FBI tip line now, 1-800-CALL-FBI. Tributes from both sides of the political aisle actually are coming in now for Charlie Kirk as we remember his impact across the globe.
To all the Gen Zers watching this convention on TikTok right now, I have a message just for you. We're going to choose success. We're going to choose to put the future of Americans first. We together are going to do the work to save America.
Yesterday, we witnessed in real time, in public display, in front of thousands of people, and then unfolding with videos all over social media, the tragic murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk from Turning Point USA. And it's a moment that if you saw that, you cannot forget it. You cannot get that out of your head. And we saw people from all varieties and walks of life, including the sports world, talking about what happened. Sports world reacts to the shooting death of Charlie Kirk, Lord have mercy. And honestly, we saw so many different athletes or commentators or people speak out about this, from Dave Portnoy to Pat McAfee to, current and former NFL players, baseball players, across the scope. So many people with an outpouring of love and prayer and thoughts for Charlie Kirk and his family after the wickedness that we saw on full display. Even the New York Yankees. The New York Yankees, before the game, held a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk, which is just something that I didn't even imagine we'd be in this place, obviously. But it was shocking to me to see at Yankee Stadium something like this, with this outpouring, this wave of support. But not everybody in the sports community was like that. There are these freaks, there are these degenerates, there are these sick fucks who were celebrating this, that are associated with different sports all around the country, including a staffer for the Carolina Panthers. And let's just say it did not work out very well for him, because Panthers have fired a staffer who mocked the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, what we saw from this person. This is a football communication staff or somebody employed by the Carolina Panthers. And look, there's a lot of other things to talk about when it comes to the NFL. There's a lot of people calling for the NFL to make statements. And you know what? These sports leagues, I do not think that the NFL should have to put out a statement regarding this tragedy or that tragedy. But they set the precedent, didn't they? When they went out there and they honored and put all these tweets out there about George fucking Floyd. So you know what? When that's the precedent you set, you damn well better do it when something like this happens. But as of yet, we haven't seen anything official from the NFL, anything like that. But when it comes to a person who worked for the Carolina Panthers, this is what we saw. Why are y'all sad? Your man said it was worth it. And then a protect your neck from Wu-Tang Clan. This is what Charlie Rock, this dude, put out there. Well, he has since been fired. The Carolina Panthers put out this statement. The views expressed by our employees are their own and do not represent those of the Panthers. We do not condone violence of any kind. We're taking this matter very seriously and have accordingly addressed it with the individual. What they didn't put in that statement is that this miserable piece of shit has been fired. But apparently that is the case, because let's get into it. While the Panthers statement does not say the employee was fired, The Athletic reports that his position with the team was terminated. The Charlotte Observer's also reporting the firing. Breaking, the Carolina Panthers have fired Charlie Rock of the team's communication department for an insensitive post regarding the murder of Charlie Kirk. A source familiar with the organization's decision tells me. Story to come. Good. There used to be a time where everybody on quote-unquote this side would, even if you disagree with somebody, you'd defend it, be like, I don't know if somebody needs to lose their job over something like that. That time is fucking past. The people out there in the sports world and really every aspect, entertainment, all this stuff, that are showing their true faces in the aftermath of this, no one is going to feel bad when you get fucking fired for the disgusting shit that you're posting. And this is just one of what I think is many to come in the sports world. And I will say this, overwhelmingly from the sports world, I think that we have seen an outpouring of support and love after what happened for Charlie to Charlie Kirk. We saw Tim Tebow. We saw Jackson Dart of the New York Giants talking about it. We saw Brett Favre, Golden Tate, Des Bryant, Torrey Smith, Robert Griffin III, right? Luke McCown, Le'Veon Bell. A lot of different journalists, a lot of different reporters, a lot of different players, a lot of different former players that are speaking out about this stuff, truly speaking out. You got Patrick Beverly, Sage Steele, obviously is going to talk about it. Phil Mickelson is out there. John Rocker is out there. And some of those people, yes, we can anticipate based on the things they've said that they would speak out on this. But also, like I said, Pat McAfee put a really nice post together. That's the most high-profile person at ESPN that we've seen do something like that. Nothing from ESPN as a whole as of yet. For the majority, I think, that the statements have been talking about the evil and talking about support for Charlie Kirk's family and thoughts and prayers, and it's horrific that this would happen. Some people out there are fucking celebrating, and the ones that do, we need to document it, we need to screenshot it, we need to spread the fucking word, because these people are evil and they can go fuck themselves. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments section below, and I'll talk to you later.
Skylar Baird, he's the president of Boosted State Safe, and he was at the event in Utah. Skylar, thank you for joining us here on Newsline. I'm not sure exactly where you were in the crowd, and I know this is really difficult, and if you can just kind of walk us through what you saw and what your thoughts are on how you're processing this immense tragedy.
Yeah, I was actually supposed to be running a booth at our state fair for my business, and I just had this strong feeling that I needed to get down to the Charlie Kirk event. And so I was asking everyone that I thought of to come with me, and no one was available. So I went by myself, and I showed up right at noon, and there was a vantage point looking down on the crowd where a lot of the far left protesters were. And I was like, well, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be next to these people. And I saw a path that I could get right up close. And so I made my way down, and right then Charlie's team, a lot of people wearing MAGA hats, and everyone was chanting USA, USA. They came up where I was going down. And so it kind of parted the Red Seas for me to make it all the way to the front. And I was 10, maybe 12 feet away from Charlie. There was a little moat behind me. So it was basically all the students behind me and me and probably, 10 other reporters. And I was standing down there, kind of trying to blend in with the reporters, pretending like I was a reporter because I was so close. And Charlie, he came up and he was riling up the crowd. He was so excited and he was throwing hats to everyone. And we made eye contact multiple times. I was within touching distance of him during this part, exactly right there. And he was so respectful, and he was so like welcoming to the far left protesters. He was inviting them to come down. He was saying, "Hey, come down. Let's have a talk. Let's have a debate. Let's discuss this. Let's bring," as he always does. And the first question was kind of on differing religions, and even though Charlie differed, he was so explicitly clear that he's like, "I love Mormons. I love," and the crowd erupted.
Right.
And
right.
he just wanted to be inclusive, and he wanted to make sure he knew that he loved everyone.
He did. And we have so much of that, that people are remembering now. And his faith was such a strong component. It's pretty incredible that you were in the back, wanted to get away from sort of the agitators, and were really probably one of the last few to make eye contact and see him up close before his assassination. What is your message today? They are still looking for this person of interest, the assassin. Someone killed him with one bullet. This was a deliberate political assassination, Skylar, about somebody that was a movement of a conservative group. They were trying to silence him, and you were there to listen to his words.
It's sad when a loser can take such an act of such an important person, someone that has so much love, someone that has so much integrity, to, in this case, literally put his life on the line in order to change hearts and minds, to bring people together. And some ideologue that was, radicalized, and someone that put, their identity above the life of another, put their identity above love. My message is, people need to stop putting any kind of labels on themselves. We're not gay, we're not LGBT, we're not black, we're not white, we're not Republican, we're not Democrat. We are children of God, and we are love. And the only thing that's going to solve this, the only thing that's going to solve all this, is recognizing that we are love, and that we are loved by God, and that we are children of God. If you put your identity above that, you're making yourself your own God. And that's what causes the hate and the divisions, because you're falling into Satan's hands.
Skylar, considering how dark this day is, you are certainly bringing a lot of light, and amid all the trauma and emotion you have, to pull it together and put it in that succinct way. Incredible. Thank you, Skylar Baird, for sharing your story. I know this is a difficult day, and I certainly appreciate it.
I really appreciate you coming on and allowing me to come on.
Keep up the fight, and thank you, and thank you for your words of faith and love. So Charlie Kirk was, folks.
Information, truth is freedom.
I'm gonna get The hardest thing is to get started. You have to get it on paper.
The news is coming in very fast now. Breaking news in the hunt for the assassin in Utah. Brand new evidence now. Bill Malutian. Bill, tell us.
Yeah, Harris, good morning to you. We heard earlier today that the FBI said they recovered that high-powered bolt-action rifle in a wooded area. Well, now several federal sources confirmed to Fox News that messages were found written on both the gun and the ammunition here, and those messages are currently being reviewed by investigators. We can't confirm what were in those messages, only that messages were found scrawled on both the gun and the ammunition that investigators have found, and that is under review right now. That gun will be having what's known as an urgent trace by the ATF. That is when they're going to try to find out where the gun was purchased, when it was purchased, what the possible chain of custody was. Keep in mind, the FBI also announcing earlier this morning they found a partial palm print. They also found some footprints, and they do have good surveillance video of the suspect. They just say they're not going to be releasing that video right now. They say those images show that person, whoever it is, jumping off a building and running off into a neighborhood, and that person appears to be college-aged. But again, Harris, multiple federal sources telling Fox News that messages of some kind were found written on both the gun and the ammo, and investigators right now looking at those messages, as here we are about 20 hours after this assassination and still no suspect in custody just yet. But it sounds like investigators are hot on this person's trail. That's all we got right now. Harris, we'll update as soon as we have more. We'll send it back to you.
Bill, thank you so very much. We are at a clip now about every 30 minutes. We're getting something brand new. So we will come back to you as the news warrants right here on Focus. Thank you.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.
As the U.S. mourns the loss of conservative legend Charlie Kirk, President Trump is looking back on the lasting legacy that Kirk left with young voters.
Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense.
Our next guest once spoke at a Turning Point event and said Charlie was his mentor, writing in an op-ed, "I cannot bring back his voice, but I can honor him by carrying forward his lessons, fighting for education, and refusing to give up on the mission he built." High school senior Gregory Lykoff joins us now. Gregory, I wish we were speaking under different circumstances. What made Charlie so special?
Yeah, well, if you look at it, he's the only one who truly cared about students my age and really valued us whether we can vote or not. He went to those college campuses, he went to those high schools, established Turning Point USA clubs, and he actually got students to finally become engaged. You know, a generation that was once known as the liberal progressive generation turned into the generation that is now a conservative, or hopefully will become a conservative stronghold. And it was all because of Charlie Kirk and his influence on millions of students, including me.
When this horrific tragedy occurred, you wrote me yesterday saying you wanted to come on here and talk about what Charlie Kirk meant to you. So describe for the audience the influence he has had on your life.
Yeah, so let me just tell you a quick story, just personal story of mine. So for 16 years, I had undiagnosed ADHD. And what that meant for me was that as I was a failing student, I couldn't read, I couldn't write. And only last year did I finally get diagnosed, and my entire life changed. I found my interest with politics, and that's when I started listening to people like Charlie Kirk. His show in particular showed me that debate matters, that things that, we don't see in our regular political world actually matter. And that's what he shows. Whether you disagree with Charlie Kirk, whether you agree with Charlie Kirk, he would debate you. And even if he wins, whether he doesn't win the debate, that's not the point. The point is to have a civilized conversation, and that's what we're missing here. And that's what he taught me is the most important aspect of everything. And, there's no other conservative who cares that much about children, about students, as much as he did. Because to be honest, for many, many decades, students were considered progressives, as I said before. So they were kind of a voting class that was not really needing to be represented because there would be no students that would be voting for red candidates. Charlie changed that. And with that impact, it's going to last decades.
Let's take a minute to listen to Charlie in his own words over the course of his very influential political career, encouraging young people just like you. Listen to this here.
Our generation and our belief system will be paving the way for millennials for decades to come.
As soon as you make the decision that I am going to boldly speak my mind courageously, whether I'm with friends or family or as I am in private and public, that is the most freeing thing we can give our students. I go around universities and have challenging conversations, and because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
As a young man pursuing a marriage, I just want to ask if you had any advice on how I can pursue and maintain a God-centered marriage.
God must always come first from your spiritual disciplines. Honor the Sabbaths and turn off your phone for 1 day a week. There is a not so silent majority now on college campuses of students that identify with a more conservative libertarian viewpoint. We are packing up these lecture halls. Our chapters are growing at a record rate. How I got my political start, one of my first things of activism is when they doubled the price of cookies at Wheeling High School. I said, this is unconscionable, this is unwarranted, and we need a rebellion. Conservatives are dominating in new media. We're dominating in podcasting. We're dominating on TikTok. We're dominating on social media because we are a movement that believes in freedom of speech and that is able to have different ideas but build coalitional type politics.
Another great warrior right here, right, Ivanka? You are a great warrior. Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
He had so much life, so much drive, so much strength in his convictions, and so much, Gregory, left to give. What stood out to you?
You know, out of everything, he was always the most humble person. He never took anything for himself. And I think that's what really taught me who I want to be and how I want to represent myself in front of other people. I want to be as humble, as caring for other people as Charlie Kirk was, because for example, he didn't have to offer me a spot to speak at a Turning Point USA event. He didn't have to even listen to me take a photo after speaking 15 hours straight on the stage, but he still did. And it's because he truly cares about students like me. He truly cares about our generation, and there's no one else that compares to the amount of care that he has. So really, that's what shocks me, is that we can have such a polarized world right now where someone so caring, even if they disagree with their beliefs, is now dead for no good reason.
10 seconds. How will you carry on his legacy?
I will carry on his legacy by making sure that his education reform is carried on. I think that's very important. I think reform in our K through 12 and upper education is extremely important. And
Gregory Lyakoff, thanks for reaching out to me. Thanks for coming in here today.
Thank you so much.
Sharing your important thoughts on this sad, sad morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
This will be the last video I make for now. You know, I'm being threatened and I don't want to put my family at risk.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 10:52 on the East Coast and 7:52 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here to bring you all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. Right now, you are taking a live look over this crime scene here over in Orem, Utah, a story that we have been following very closely here. The rifle used to assassinate Charlie Kirk has been recovered in a wooded area as the shooter does remain on the run this morning. The FBI providing the update earlier on today, just a couple hours ago in a press briefing, alongside the Utah Department of Public Safety, also revealing that the gunman appears to have blended in with the college crowd and escaped. Kirk, the 31-year-old conservative activist and founder of Turning Point, was killed when a single gunshot was fired from a rooftop Wednesday as Kirk took part in an event there at Utah Valley University. Despite two potential suspects being detained, his assassin has not been located. That is according to law enforcement. Republican Congressman Mike Kennedy of Utah represents the area where the attack happened here, and he joins us live to talk more about Charlie Kirk and what happened. Congressman, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. We appreciate it.
Josh, thanks for having me on this sad day that we mourn, not only September 11th and many years ago, the lost lives there, but yesterday, the loss of Charlie Kirk's life.
Course. And I did want to ask you, you're home there not far from where all of this unfolded. Can you break down for me how you found out what happened and what you're thinking at that point?
I'll just say, Josh, and to you and to your listeners, the reality is violence will not silence our people. That Charlie Kirk's voice will continue to be heard and freedom of speech will prevail. This coward who is a deranged individual who perpetrated this horrible crime, not only on Charlie Kirk and his outstanding wife and two children, who's now a widow, and these children are without a father, but also on my community, the Utah Valley University community, as well as our state and our country, that this person will be brought to justice. And we stand firm. Our hearts are broken, but our resolve is firm, not only to find this person, and the full weight of the United States justice system will be brought to bear against this individual, but we stand firm also in standing for freedom of speech. The reality for us, Josh, and all people, is people have a right to speak their minds, and we will continue to do so in spite of intimidating threats of violence.
And I want to pop this up here on your screen. You can see this coming in from Fox News. We played this out live as it did happen, but President Trump saying that he is going to posthumously award Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He made that announcement during that 9/11 address a short time ago. What are your thoughts overall on that announcement?
Josh, thank you for bringing that up, because many young people saw Charlie Kirk as a light, an opportunity for people to engage, vigorously debate the issues of the day, but to do so in a nonviolent fashion. And I can see many young people standing back from the public debate. A lot of times they don't want to get involved anyways, but especially after the murder of such an outstanding person, that they would want to back out from engaging in the public discourse. But I'll say to you and say to those people is, please do not back out. In that case, this deranged individual that did this heinous crime, that this individual will win if we back out from engaging with one another. And I'm committed, along with my congressional colleagues, Democrats and Republicans, we link arms in not only decrying such filthy crimes of cowardice, but also inspired by the Constitution and Charlie Kirk's efforts, we will continue to move forward with violence being threatened. It's not going to intimidate us. Our resolve is firm.
Can you tell folks out there, as we take a live look here over in Orem, Utah, that area, Utah Valley University, tell me a little bit about it for folks who are not familiar.
My area is a beautiful area. There's mountains just off to the east and a little bit to the north, and this is an outstanding institution. More than 40,000 students go to this institution, and many of my friends and colleagues have gone there. There's another university, Brigham Young University, just down the way. This is a bedroom community. There's houses, residences right around this institution, a major thoroughfare, I-15, a freeway that's right nearby as well, but restaurants, retail shops, as well as homes. This is a great area, and for this area to be subject to such a heinous crime and the murder of this outstanding individual is something that is entirely unknown to us. We in the state of Utah generally, and this area specifically, have never seen these sort of behaviors in our area.
And Governor Cox had very strong words at the news conference just yesterday when everything was kind of laid out as far as what happened. He said this was political violence. It was a political assassination. I wanted to ask, what message do you want to share with both Republicans and Democrats about addressing and preventing politically motivated violence overall?
Not only will this individual be brought to justice, and we do have the death penalty in the state of Utah, and this should be prosecuted in the state of Utah, but Charlie Kirk stood for something bigger than himself, and he gave his life for it, and that's freedom of speech. And I stand with him. I stand with the young people that followed Charlie Kirk, and I stand with the United States of America, because violence is how other countries may quell their populations and prevent them from being able to exercise their God-given and constitutionally protected freedom of speech. And I stand with all like-minded individuals to decry violence and to stand with the Constitution and our privilege of speaking freely, especially about politics and the disagreements that invariably we have today. It's only through communication in a nonviolent fashion that we can resolve the issues of the day.
When you look at this and you kind of track everything with the investigation that's going on, but you also have a college campus where, as you mentioned, we're talking tens of thousands of students. What message do you have for young people there who are maybe shaken today as the search is still underway for Charlie Kirk's assassin?
If you are sleeping in a position like this, you are wrecking your body and your breathing. Chronic neck pain happens when your cervical...
We should mourn. Many of those people knew Charlie Kirk, they were fans of his, and they had to witness a horrific event that no one should ever have to witness, let alone experience. So we should mourn. And the mourning, and I'm a doctor, mourning is a healing process, and we should link arms, and we should celebrate a life and mourn a violent death. But after that, and today is September 11th, we should give all due regard to that as well. And after that period of time, we get back to work. The House of Representatives, United States House of Representatives, is doing its work today, even now. And we continue to work forward. And I'd say to all people, mourn. We should mourn and be sad that there are individuals that believe we should speak with bullets, not with words. There are individuals in our society that are like that. They are rare. And those people, this person will be prosecuted. But most of us believe that we can engage with one another and resolve the issues. And I'll just say with hope and optimism, the United States of America is a great place. Its people are great people. And we will move on from this. We will never forget. But we will move on and continue to do the work of the American people.
And I did want to ask you here, before I let you go, again, as all of this does continue to develop, how would you like to make sure that Charlie Kirk is remembered there in Utah, but also across the country and really across the world? What is his legacy there in your eyes?
J.D. Vance has already come into the state to recognize the significant contribution, and President Trump already has recognized over and over again the contribution that Charlie Kirk has made to bring young people to the table of discussion. And that's people on all sides in a respectful, vigorous fashion. He was willing and able to debate on many different issues. So we're already seeing that. And I can foresee an annual event, if not a constant event for us, at least in the short term, for us to continue to honor the memory of this good young man who did so much for our society and bringing young people to the table to have political conversations. And you can bet that I and many others will be involved in that process to make sure that he is not forgotten.
Congressman Mike Kennedy there of Utah represents this area. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today on what is 9/11 and, of course, a day of mourning as well for folks who knew and loved Charlie Kirk. Is there anything else that you want to add at all before I let you go?
Thank you, Josh. I just want to say God bless America. This is more important than any one individual, and all of us can see that Charlie Kirk did his job and he paid the ultimate sacrifice for it. And I and many others are inspired by his example and want to live up to that great memory that he left. So God bless America, and we'll be okay. But now is the time for mourning and remembrance, and we should pay respect to not only Charlie Kirk, but also his widow and those two young children who now have to live without their husband and father.
All right, Congressman Kennedy, thank you again for your time today. We definitely appreciate it.
MSNBC has fired political analyst Matthew Dowd, the network's president, releasing this statement, I'm quoting. During our breaking news coverage of the shooting of Charlie Kirk, Matthew Dowd made comments that were inappropriate, insensitive, and unacceptable. We apologize for his statements, as has he. There is no place for violence in America, political or otherwise, end quote. Outkick founder Clay Travis joins me now. Prior to his firing, Dowd had made disparaging comments about Charlie Kirk. What do you say to that?
I'm not surprised, sadly, how MSNBC responded, because I think when you analyze this situation in a larger context, it's the natural outgrowth of the idea that words are violence, and that what people say that you don't like and you may disagree with is not only unacceptable, but violence in response to it is acceptable. Because if you accept the argument that words are violence, which is effectively a version of what MSNBC just fired this Matthew Dowd fellow for, then it is a natural outgrowth that violence can be used to respond to words. And what I found so particularly striking and in many ways metaphorically resonant was Charlie Kirk was having a free speech event on a college campus. Yeah. There was an open mic for anyone to step to and argue against what he believed. This was the full flourishment of the marketplace of ideas with young people. And instead of stepping to the mic and disputing and arguing against whatever Charlie Kirk might hold to be true, that shooter decided to kill Charlie Kirk. And I think ultimately what it was also resonant and symbolic of was no one on the left could argue better than Charlie. Yeah. And so the end result was they felt they had to kill him to silence him.
One of the most articulate young men I've ever seen. And I'm really surprised at the number of young people that knew about Charlie Kirk and were upset at his passing. I know teens and preteens who told me about this in most upsetting terms. I believe you have young sons who had some kind of action today.
Yeah, and first, before I tell you what my kids did, I think there's probably a lot of parents and grandparents out there that may not know who Charlie Kirk is very well, because he addressed and spoke to young people to such an extent that there's probably a lot of 50, 60, 70-year-old people out there who really don't know who Charlie Kirk is. And if you've got kids or grandkids in your family, I think maybe you could ask them about this, because they may be hurting and you may have no idea. And in particular, my own kids, so I've got 3 boys, 17, 14, and 10. My 2 oldest boys, and they hate to do this at their school, they wore jackets and ties today to the school. And it's an all-boys school. Every boy just about in the entire school, this was all student-generated. They said, as a show of respect and appreciation for Charlie Kirk, let's all wear jackets and ties to school tomorrow. So virtually the entire campus today, where I live in Nashville, of their school is kids wearing jackets and ties in honor of Charlie Kirk, who many of them held to be a hero.
What worries me is that campus events will not feature conservatives in the future because it's too dangerous and it costs too much to make them secure. That's a real concern out there.
I think it is a concern, and I think that's why people out there, including myself, I'm going to be on a campus this weekend at a big football game in the South for Fox Sports. And I'm not going to change anything about what I was going to do, because what this is a terrorism. Let's make no mistake about it. And what the desire to do is to make people fearful to live their lives, as all terror attacks do. I think it's connected with the 24th anniversary, unfortunately, of 9/11. Freedom is always going to have people who are terrified by it and seek to tear it from those of us who love it. And it's incumbent upon those of us who are living, both now and in the future, to continue to understand that there is a price to pay for freedom, whether it's freedom of speech, whether it's freedom of human rights. And there's always going to be evil trying to take it from us.
It is freedom of speech and free and open debate that will bring us together and stop dividing us. Trey Clavis, thanks for joining us, Clay. Great pleasure to be with you today. Yes, sir. Thank you.
This trending energy booster sold out online in just 48 hours. Again.
Yeah, John, it seems the manhunt could be tightening on the alleged shooter. As you noted, the FBI offering that $100,000 reward, asking for the public's help to identify this person of interest. And they tweeted that picture out. We can show you here. Take a close look at this individual. If anyone recognizes him, the FBI wants you to call 1-800-CALL-FBI. And they say no tip is too big or too small. They are looking literally for any kind of information you might have. Now, here's the latest that we've learned so far. Investigators say they've been able to track the suspect's movement through stairwells to the roof where they believe the shooting took place. Then he was believed to have jumped off the building's roof and moved away from campus, and they believe he could now be in a nearby neighborhood. They say they have good video, images, and impressions, and have recovered the alleged weapon that fired the fatal shot.
It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle. That rifle was recovered in a wooded area where the shooter had fled. The FBI laboratory will be analyzing this weapon. Investigators have also collected footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis.
Now, about those messages, John, multiple sources confirmed to Fox that investigators are looking at what appears to be written messages on both the gun and the ammunition. The content of the messages is unclear, and the FBI is not commenting, and we're getting that better visual at where investigators believe the shot came from. They've zeroed in on the rooftop of this building you see here on the right of your screen, the Low C Center on campus. It is about 200 yards away from where Charlie was speaking under a tent in an open area, with the shooter having a potential direct line of sight. Now we are awaiting that press conference, John, which we thought would be in about 40 minutes from now, but we're getting word just at the moment that that may be being pushed back. So we're watching and waiting. John?
All right, Griff Jenkins with the latest for us. Griff, thank you for the update. Appreciate it. Sandra?
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Mr. Prime Minister, it's very nice to talk to you again, sir, but I didn't dream that I'd be talking to you so soon since the last time we spoke.
Well, the circumstances are tragic. And as you can imagine, Greta, I want to say a farewell to a great human being, a great friend of Israel, a great champion of Judeo-Christian civilization, and a champion of free speech, free debate, freedom. Charlie Kirk his loss is terrible. And we grieve for him, for his wife, Erica, for his two beautiful children, and for the many, many, many people who will not hear his voice. His legacy, yes, but his unique voice, that's gone.
You know, you didn't just read about him. You actually knew him. He wrote you a very personal letter in May, and I think you just spoke to him recently. Am I right?
Yeah, yes, he did. You know, he wrote me this letter, and I think May 2nd, and he says, one of my greatest joys as a Christian is advocating for Israel and forming alliances to defend Judeo-Christian civilization. That's in a nutshell, Charlie. And then I called him a few weeks ago and I said, so Charlie, why don't you come and visit us? And he said, well, I'm going to, and we were going to fix a date. And that's not going to take place.
Charlie really regretted seeing Israel losing some support around the world. I think that was one of the reasons, you know, that I think that he wanted to speak to you or wanted to write to you, because, you know, he knows, you know, how much Israel is suffering in the world and how some institutions like the UN make it very difficult for Israel on top of everything else.
Well, he talked about that in the letter. He said, it pains me to see support for Israel slip away. That's what he said.
I don't know. I just, you know, I mean, you see this more often in Israel than we do here in the United States. I mean, you just had a terrorist attack at a bus stop on September 8th. I mean, Israel has seen so much bloodshed from terrorist attacks. So, you know, I guess that you're in a particularly unique position to try to help us grieve, help us get through this.
Well, yeah, we have, you know, we're fighting terror on 7 fronts, more or less all of them organized and orchestrated by Iran, and we've dealt Iran and its proxies severe blows, including removing, with President Trump's help, the existential threat to Israel of atomic bombs from Iran and thousands and thousands of ballistic missiles. But we continue the battle against terrorism, and as you say, just a few days ago we had 6 innocent civilians mowed down by Hamas-inspired terrorists in Jerusalem. So, yes, we fight it on all fronts. But I think there's something else going on here. Look, the radical left, the ultra-left, has joined forces with radical Islam. And they are constantly attacking our civilization. That's what Charlie understood. There's an attack on Western civilization. There's an attack on our common Judeo-Christian heritage. And when these people attack us, they try to silence us. They tried to kill President twice, to assassinate President Trump twice. They tried to assassinate me. They fired mortars of flare mortars at my home, nearly burnt it, nearly killed, burnt alive a security guard. We found out that they actually had plans, concrete plans, to murder me. They call for the murder of not only me, but my wife, my kids. So there's this incitement of terrible propaganda that we see here and we see in the United States against the leaders of 2 democracies. And, you know, what do they say? They say, Trump is Hitler. Right, Trump is Hitler. Give me a break. I'm Hitler. And if you have a Hitler leading your country, well, you know, you can kill Hitler. And if you can't kill Hitler, kill those who support Hitler, which is, and we're, of course, dictators. We don't get elected time and time again with, you know, democracy, democratic vote. So we're despots. We're Hitlerian, so they say, and they have to kill us. And so they try to kill us. They foment so much of this propaganda.
This can improve your hearing loss almost overnight. No doctor, no prescription, and no need to.
We have a radical left group of lunatics out there, just absolute lunatics, and we're going to get that problem solved. I'm only concerned for the country. Yeah.
Mr. President, how do you want to see your supporters respond to this? Charlie Kirk was a big advocate of nonviolence and free speech on campus. How do you want your supporters to respond, sir?
I think that way. He was an advocate of nonviolence. That's the way I'd like to see people respond. Say it? I did. I spoke to Erica, his wife, and we had a long talk, and she's devastated. She is absolutely devastated, as you can imagine.
Are you concerned?
Have any reporting intervention behind the Charlie Kirk assassination?
I don't know what you're saying.
Mr. President, when, Mr. President, are you planning to bring both presidents, the president of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, and president of Rwanda,
They're coming soon. They're coming soon. And as you know, I spoke to their foreign ministers. They were here a couple of weeks ago, as you remember. And they'll be coming soon. The presidents are coming very soon.
This week, Mr. President, I witnessed more than 60 people in DRC Congo were killed. There is people affiliated with ISIS. Terrorist groups are taking advantage because of the situation going on because of the war. So what is your word for Congolese people?
Well, we're going to be talking to them. As you know, we are talking to them. It's a very violent place. It's very, very violent. For a long time, it's been going on for 30 years, 35 years even, they say. But we're going to handle it. Thank you. Can't understand.
Mr. President, what do you think about the media that justify the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I think it's terrible. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. It's terrible.
Why haven't they found the shooter yet, Mr. President? Are you concerned that it's been 24 hours?
Well, I hear they're making big progress, and we'll have to see what happens.
Do you have any indication of the shooter's motivation, sir?
I have an indication, yeah, but we'll let you know about that later. Thank you.
You spoke with Uzbekistan president, and this last Sunday you sent greetings to Kazakhstan. UN General Assembly is upcoming. Are you going to meet with presidents of Central Asian countries?
President where?
Central Asian countries, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan.
I will be, yeah. They're very good people, and I will be doing that, yes.
Do you believe the killer was a trained assassin? Usually your instincts are always on.
I'd rather not say. I think progress is being made. He's an animal, total animal. And hopefully they'll have him and they'll get him. What he did is disgraceful. Charlie Kirk was a great person, a great man, great in every way, especially with youth. And what he did, what this man did, was disgraceful. So hopefully we'll have him and we will deal with him very appropriately.
What's your reaction to Russian drone incursion into Poland?
Could have been a mistake. Could have been a mistake. But regardless, I'm not happy about anything having to do with that whole situation. But hopefully it's going to come to an end.
Mr. President, in Brazil, Bolsonaro was just found guilty by the Supreme Court. You've been very clear that you would apply sanctions. Are you thinking further sanctions to Brazil because of this Bolsonaro?
Well, I watched that trial. I know him pretty well. Foreign leader. I thought he was a good president of Brazil. And it's very surprising that that could happen. That's very much like they tried to do with me, but they didn't get away with it at all. But I can only say this. I knew him as president of Brazil. He was a good man. And I don't see that happening.
I'm very sorry for your loss, for everybody's loss. I'm very sorry for your loss, first of all.
Thank you.
How do you think Israel's attack in Doha will affect the hostage deal?
You better say it a little bit more. Where are you from?
I'm from Israel, Channel 14.
Okay,
It's like
go ahead, do it
Israeli
again.
talk.
Do it
okay.
again.
How do you think Israel's attack in Doha will affect the hostage deal?
Well, hopefully it won't affect it at all. We want the hostages out. and we want him out soon. Hopefully it won't affect him.
Mr. President, my condolences to you, sir. My condolences on the loss of your friend, Charlie Kirk. May I ask you personally, how are you holding up over the last 3.5 years?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty. It'll be an absolutely magnificent structure. And I just see all the trucks. We just started, so it'll get done very nicely, and it'll be one of the best anywhere in the world, actually.
Thank you so much. Your message.
This is 6 things you're looking for when you buy a piece of real estate. Number 1, cash flow.
I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The date of the ceremony will be announced, and I can only guarantee you one thing, that we will have a very big crowd. Very, very big.
President Trump announcing that honor at the Pentagon ceremony marking 24 years since the attacks of September the 11th. Vice President J.D. Vance meeting today with Kirk's family and close friends in Salt Lake City. We also know that the casket will be flown to Phoenix, Charlie Kirk and his family's hometown, on Air Force Two. Senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich reporting live from the North Lawn. Hi, Jackie.
Hey, Martha. Yeah, a lot of sorrow here at the White House. In remarks that were posted online from the Oval Office last night, President Trump singled out what he called radical leftists for the culture of division that fuels political violence. And he vowed his administration will find every single person and entity that contributes to it.
For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others.
The president asked Americans to commit themselves to the values that Charlie Kirk lived by, including the rule of law. Kirk's last message to the world was about the murder of Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska in Charlotte, North Carolina, pushing to examine the policies of local Democratic officials whose decisions led to her killer roaming the streets with a lengthy rap sheet. He said, quote, "If we want things to change, it's 100% necessary to politicize the senseless murder of Irina Zarutska, because it was politics that allowed a savage monster with 14 priors to be free on the streets to kill her." President Trump earlier in the day had posted the animal who so violently killed the beautiful young lady from Ukraine who came to America searching for peace and safety should be given a quick, there is no doubt, trial and only awarded the death penalty. There can be no other option. Meantime, the crime crackdown here in D.C. is continuing. The White House just put out some new numbers. 3,300 law enforcement types last night descended on the city, made 99 arrests, including 34 aliens. That operation continues, Martha.
Okay, Jackie, thank you very much.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, along with Katie Pavlich, Harold Ford Jr., Brian Kilmeade, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. President Trump just spoke to reporters on the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and we will have that video for you shortly, and we'll bring it to you in full. And this comes amid rapid developments in the manhunt for the suspect. Right now, FBI Director Kash Patel and his deputy, Dan Bongino, Bongino, excuse me, are headed to the scene in Utah, where officials are expected to hold a news conference. The FBI is offering a $100,000 reward for this person of interest that you can see right there on your screen. Let's go to Matt Finn. He's in Utah with the latest. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Dana. Earlier this afternoon, we were preparing for a news conference on the ground here, and then it was suddenly canceled. And our understanding is that is at least in part because of Bongino and Patel being on their way here. Law enforcement said earlier today that they were trying to use technology to identify Charlie Kirk's killer on video, but then they did turn to the public and ask for help as well, releasing 2 screen grabs of a person of interest and offering that $100,000 reward. Police say the suspect appeared to be college-aged and blended in on campus here. And if you look at the photo of the person of interest, it appears that that person has a long, dark shirt, which lines up with eyewitness accounts, video, and even dispatch audio, which describe the suspect as wearing dark clothing. Now, no apparent gloves, at least in the screen grabs that we can see. So anything the suspect may have touched could have left behind DNA or fingerprints. Today, law enforcement announced they recovered a high-powered bolt-action rifle in a wooded area where they believe the shooter had fled.
Through all that work last night, we were able to make a few breakthroughs. We were able to track the movements of the shooter.
We have recovered what we believe is the weapon that was used in yesterday's shooting. It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle.
The suspect blended in well with a college institution. We're not releasing many details right now, and we will soon. But right now we're not. But that individual appears to be of college age.
And on the ground here at Utah Valley College, the white tent that Charlie Kirk was inside of, now a morbid and infamous symbol as a part of his Prove Me Wrong table, still standing on the campus. We will keep you updated on the Patel and Bongino visit here in Utah. Back to you guys.
Matt Finn, thank you so much. And we are working on getting that tape for you of President Trump. We'll bring it to you soon. But in the meantime, let's get some comments. Let's start with Katie Pavlich, because Katie, it's wonderful to have you here on the show today. It is interesting to me to think to have known you for as long as I have, and then to realize that you actually knew Charlie Kirk going way back, and he's been a really important part of your life for many, many years.
Yeah, Charlie's a little bit younger than I am, but we started our careers essentially at the same time because I went to college. Maybe that was a mistake. And he decided to graduate high school and go right into conservative activism and build something himself. And I had the privilege of knowing him since 2013. He was always reaching out to new people, wanting to develop relationships, and we kept in touch over the years. And on election night of 2024, I texted him and said, "Congratulations, Charlie, on one of the greatest political comebacks of all time." He was a friend to many people. I know we're going to talk about his legacy and what people are saying about him later in the show. But it's been very nice to see on the channel all day and on social media and elsewhere in the conservative movement, people's tributes to him, because a lot of people were friends with him and he touched millions of people in ways that we won't know the full effect of that for many years to come. I do want to talk about the shooter that is on the run. This person is a coward. This person is a loser. People like this do things like this because they are weak and pathetic. And there are far too many of them that are out in the country and the world trying to harm innocent people. He didn't have the courage to use words to fight Charlie Kirk. He instead decided to use a gun with a bullet and run away. But the FBI is looking for him. It's a little disappointing. They haven't found him yet, but I know everybody's working really hard to find him. And when I listened to the president last night in the video he released from him in the Oval Office, and he said, quote, "My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it." He is tired of this. The country is tired of this. And a lot of this organizing of this violent political terrorism is going to come to an end. And I think they're lashing out because they know that. And I hope it doesn't get worse before it gets better. But the president has vowed to end it, and he's usually a man of his word.
Greg, while we wait to get this tape from the president, we understand from Matt Finn that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, they're headed to Utah. And maybe that's because they have more information, or they need to be on the scene in order to figure out what's going on.
Yeah,
I don't like commenting on this stuff because it's fog of war.
Yeah.
And you say one thing, it turns out to be false. You don't want to feed into a rumor, things you hear. So I'm going to stick to just talking about Charlie and how we got here and where we're going. In sports, I'm a jock, Dana.
Yeah,
it's everything.
It's really tiresome, all the sports you talk about.
When a player on another team trashes your team in the press, it fires up your team. Coaches call it bulletin board material. They put it on the board, you see it, it gets you fired up. Charlie's assassination is our bulletin board material. If you want to kill an idea, the worst thing you can do is kill the guy behind it, because it gives the idea legs and wings and millions of resilient voices, which are ours and the people at home. I do believe there is causation from news to outcome. If you subtract the media's influence, this wouldn't have happened. I think you could say the same for Scalise, Trump's near assassinations, Tesla owners attacked, ICE agents attacked, Jewish students attacked, Riley Gaines cornered on a campus. Causation. Calling people evil bigots and Nazis does put targets on their back. And this is why you're seeing on social media so many people celebrating, even if you're not even looking for it, it's there. And I don't call them evil. I call them hypnotized. They were brainwashed. And the way that you brainwash somebody is through repetition. Nazi, 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 fascist, fascist, fascist. That's how you brainwash. So it's almost like, shouldn't be surprising that these things happen. And what scares me, and there's going to be a change in the way we live. We have a simple ethos in America, live and let live. The problem with that ethos, you got Trump?
30 seconds.
Oh, okay, 30. The problem with that ethos, it makes us vulnerable to those who disagree with the ethos. Our freedoms allow for our destruction. It's no longer going to be live and let live. It's going to be live and let live, but only indoors with a metal detector.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.
Using the right weight matters. The Body Pod lets you easily understand what is the fastest way.
In the coming weeks, this channel will be devoted to two core missions. One will be the remembrance of Charlie Kirk and the continuation of his life's mission of spreading light into the darkness. And two will be the dispatching and destruction of that darkness, the dark cultural and political forces that stole Charlie from us, that called so longingly for something bad to happen to Charlie. You cannot live in a society like that. You cannot continue on when half of the nation celebrates the wholesale slaughter by a coward's bullet in Utah of Charlie Kirk, a loving father, devoted and honorable husband, an upstanding man, and a generational force, somebody with a prophetic calling on his life, somebody who I considered a friend. The time for grieving, ladies and gentlemen, will happen. Now is the time for action. President Trump knows this. I've never seen President Trump so angry and sad than he was today. You can see him here at a 9/11 memorial. President Trump is forlorn. I have personally witnessed President Trump call Charlie Kirk his son. Charlie Kirk was effectively a Trump child, and every Trump child will admit to that. Donald Trump's fourth son, cut down by what we believe to be this individual, at the very least the FBI, has only put out a single image, and this is it, of this individual, a white male wearing a black t-shirt, long sleeves, wearing a shirt with an eagle and American flag on it, no doubt trying to blend in. Someone who is wandering with black sunglasses and a hat. The FBI is saying, we are asking for the public's help in identifying this person of interest in connection to the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk, Utah University. Call, please, if you have any information. And now we have the chilling image of the sniper's nest here. This is, of course, where Charlie was sitting answering questions, and this would have been the exact location of Charlie Kirk's assassin, sitting right here. And the videos that you see of someone crawling on the roof, those were accurate. This was where that individual was crawling. There are markers down on the roof that show footprints and or fingerprints and a small divot of where that individual lie. Newly released photos from the sniper's nest reveal shooter's point of view during the attack on Charlie Kirk. The manhunt remains active and the suspect is still at large, which is terrifying. I want to just stop for a second and note something about this sniper's nest. This entire scenario is making my hair stand on end because of its sophistication. Let me explain. When President Trump was shot in Butler, many who haven't really studied both assassinations would say, well, you know, Charlie and President Trump, madman and a lunatic and whatever you want to call him, loner, Antifa member, leftist, loser. They take a rifle and they take a shot at Charlie and or President Trump, right? They're similar situations, but they're not when you really study them. We went to Butler and we physically stood and laid down where Matthew Thomas Crooks was, and you could see really in the data the lack of sophistication. Matthew Thomas Crooks was a lumbering jackass who bumped into the cops, who had a rangefinder, who had a big black backpack, who was making himself well known, who was photographed clear as day at the event. He drew the attention of police and even had a police escort out of the event. He was denied entry. He then lumbered across a rooftop and everyone was pointing at him and saying, look at this, who is on the roof? He made himself well known. Footage from behind President Trump showed Matthew Thomas Crooks as he lunked across the roof. You could see his rifle in his hand. Now, it'll remain a generational mystery as to why law enforcement didn't act on the assassin. That's not what this video is about. What I am saying here is that with this imagery, you can see that we are dealing with someone who thought this out ahead of time, who potentially practiced at this location, who is far more sophisticated, and who was not able to be captured on video. This is about as clear of a shot as you have. This is a still frame from just a moving video, not even trying to capture any individual on the rooftop. And all you can see is just a small black divot. This is somebody who got away. Matthew Thomas Crooks, of course, was killed on sight. This is someone who left very little behind. Although they say they have his gun, some people are speculative on that. There does seem to be a enormous amount of forensics that is being deployed right now. Charlie Kirk murder suspect still on the loose. Cash Patel and Dan Bongino scheduled to come to Utah. We're on the ground. There was supposed to be a press conference, but it has been postponed due to rapid developments today. That was a few hours ago. So hopefully they've caught this individual, but we've heard absolutely nothing to this point. Now, we do know that they've also caught two other individuals. Who were they? Well, they were not the shooter, according to the FBI. Were they decoys? Were these people who were working in concert with the shooter? Shooter's exact point of view reveals chilling new photos from sniper's nest. You can see here the images. And this is the gun recovered in Charlie Kirk's assassination. Reveal ammo bore pro-trans Antifa messages, according to sources. So this is the firearm that they allegedly recovered. I see great speculation as to whether this is the firearm, or whether this is a plant, or whether this is a decoy. You can see here the map that matches up. You can see here the 30-06 caliber bolt action rifle that can fire just a single round at a time. Charlie Kirk here. And a single bullet. I suppose that would be the other difference between this and Butler. Whereas in Butler, you saw a mad spraying of bullets in a psychotic and untrained manner. This was a single shot. A single shot. You can see here All that we have. All that we have. This small, dark image of Charlie Kirk. That's it. That's all we have of the Charlie Kirk potential assassin. These blur, I mean, unlike Matthew Thomas Crooks, who was getting photographed everywhere, photographed by police, photographed by bystanders. There are multiple high-quality, high-definition photos of Matthew Thomas Crooks that day. We have absolutely nothing of the shooter here except for what has been released, which is still a very grainy photo from a security camera and not an adequate one. Some people have enhanced it with AI, but what good is that going to do? It's just guessing. AI is guessing, and so are we at this point. So this is, of course, the location. You can see it is a direct shot and direct vantage point. President Trump has just responded to some questions at the White House about this. President Trump responding about the motivation, potentially, of the assassin.
What do you think about the media that justify the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I think it's terrible. They're going to be ashamed of themselves. It's terrible.
Why haven't they found the shooter yet, Mr. President? Are you concerned that it's been 24 hours?
Well, I hear they're making big progress, and we'll have to see what happens.
Do you have any indication of the shooter's motivation, sir?
I have an indication, yeah, but we'll let you know about that later. Thank you.
So President Trump saying that they do indeed have a motive, and then following up with this.
I believe the killer was a trained assassin. Usually your instincts are always on.
I'd rather not say. I think progress is being made. He's an animal, total animal. And hopefully they'll have him and they'll get him. What he did is disgraceful. Charlie Kirk was a great person, a great man, great in every way, especially with youth. And what he did, what this man did, was disgraceful. So hopefully we'll have him and we will deal with him very appropriately.
Was he a trained assassin? Was he a trained assassin? Was there something bigger going on? We don't know. Stories like this certainly draw our attention. Mystery bearded man in the crowd celebrating Charlie Kirk shooting, looking back after gunshot. You can see here a mystery bearded man seen appearing to celebrate the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Who was that? Was this a coordinated effort? There was chatter online about attempts on Charlie Kirk's well-being, let's just say, and bragging about what will happen next to Charlie, bragging that something bad is about to happen to Charlie. There are real posts online predicting this. Is this just happenstance? Obviously, Charlie Kirk is was a very, very threatened man on a constant, near second-by-second basis. We don't know. Why would this individual be celebrating? We don't know. Presumably, while everyone else has their heads down, why would this individual be up and celebrating? We wait for more, ladies and gentlemen. That is what we have now. This will be our full-time devotion of this channel, is investigating this, getting to the bottom of it, honoring the memory of Charlie. It's Benny Johnson. See ya. In the coming weeks, this channel will be devoted to two core missions. One will
It's okay to be angry, especially today on 9/11. Look, if you love this country, if you love our culture and our way of life, I'd expect you to be angry, especially today. Not only for yesterday or for 12 years ago or for 24 years ago, but it appears we have a nation collectively have forgotten. Like, I'm angry about all that evil. I don't really care that modern society says anger is bad, but good people get angry when bad things happen to good people.
Billowing out right now. We have.
You can see the two towers, a huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
He's alive. He's alive. The crowd cheers. God is great.
It was only hours later that his body was pulled out of that same window by a crowd.
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Oh my God. Bad people cause or are happy when bad things happen to good people. We saw those bad people celebrating yesterday's assassination. We saw bad countries celebrating the attack on our embassy in Benghazi 12 years ago, which I've hardly seen any mention about today, of which then the Secretary of State tried to tell us not to be concerned about it. And we saw even more bad people cheering. Yeah, this happened here in America 24 years ago. When those planes hit those towers, we should be angry when our way of life is threatened. But I'm peaceful. You can do both. And I told you after Trump got shot that it was us versus them, good versus bad, evil versus the peaceful. And the evil's pushing pretty hard right now. But there's a difference between peaceful and helpless. Being peaceful is only possible if you're capable of great violence. If you're not capable of great violence, you're helpless. Those people, and those people doing the most damage right now, especially here in America, they're hiding behind the banner and the protection of peaceful, but they're actually helpless. They can only do and say the horrible things that they do because of people like me who choose to be peaceful. Peaceful is a choice of hard men who keep the evil and the helpless safe and allow them to spew that hate that they do until our patience runs out. 9/11 tested that theory, and America was no longer peaceful after that. Now, look, you can agree or disagree with the Iraq war. Lord knows I think it became a disaster. But you cannot deny the effects of what happens when we choose not to be peaceful. After people who believed in the self-proclaimed religion of peace killed 3,000 Americans here in New York, we, who had chosen to be peaceful up until then, destroyed and conquered the world's 5th largest army in less than 5 days. When America chose to not to be peaceful, we rolled over a global power in like less time than it takes my grass seed to sprout. And they became helpless real quick. But now we have fellow citizens pushing that envelope.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
I will go and take Trump out tonight. Take him out now.
Okay. When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Democrats want to see someone get up there and give a knuckle sandwich to Donald Trump.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
So this is just a warning to you Trumpers. Be careful. Walk lightly. And for those of you who are soldiers, make them pay.
You have to be ready to throw a punch.
Those people are helpless. That's the evil, though, claiming to be peaceful, that got us to yesterday. Saying horrible things under the protection of peaceful, then pretending to decry the violence that comes in the wake of those horrible things that they say, carried out by someone who likely believes the same message they do. I mean, today's a tough one for me, because that evil, domestically and foreign, is why I went to war. It's why I dropped out of college to go to war, to ensure that people like Charlie Kirk had the ability to speak freely and safely. But then they killed him for it anyway. That's why I'm angry. A lot of my people in my town, this is a rough day. We grew up with our parents working down in the financial district by the Twin Towers. I lost a lot of good friends' parents that day. But you know what it did? It united the country in a way that I envy, I miss. I only pray for today. By the way, prayer that's mocked by 50% of the country now. Prayer that was just booed by the Democrat Party on the House floor yesterday. I do wish they knew. Brother, we're not praying for us. We're praying for them, because we're peaceful and they're helpless, protected under the banner of my side's restraint. And prayer is the only thing between peace and them finding out the difference. So yeah, I'm pretty angry, and I have every right to be. Not only because they knocked down our buildings, or they stormed our embassy in Benghazi, or they tried to kill my president, or because they shot my friend yesterday. I'm angry because bad, helpless people took away the very unity that we had after 9/11, which makes this country worth fighting for, not amongst. The same type of people cheering yesterday, killing of the father, the influencer, the leader of a movement, they took away that post 9/11 unity. The unity that tragedy gave us at great cost, that we swore we would never forget. And 24 years later, we will likely elect a self-proclaimed Muslim socialist to govern the very ground that it happened on. We're defunding and demonizing the same people who ran into those towers 24 years ago, and letting the people out of jail who choose to live outside the system that peaceful men still protect. That's what I'm most angry about. Everything's backwards. The people who've never done anything for anyone other than themselves are spitting on the graves of millions of people who died, or in the case of 24 years ago, were killed in order to obtain it. 9/12/2001 would be so disappointed in 9/10/2025. I'm livid that people who have had it so good in America for so long have invented grievances in order to victimize themselves and then hate people for calling them out for it for such an extent that they would shoot them. Those people are bigger enemies than the ones who knocked down the towers 24 years ago. In the spirit of Charlie Kirk, we should all engage in the battle of ideas, but if the other side, foreign or domestic, continues to push the way they are, I fear for my kids it won't be a battle of just ideas for long. Because when icons are murdered for their ideas, more good and peaceful men start to believe that they have more to gain than to lose by reciprocating that violence. Which, by the way, my side will win. But at what cost? The last time we gave up dialogue, it cost us almost 3% of our population 150 years ago. I don't want that. But America has a culture worth defending. We have morals and principles that are worth fighting for. I did. And, a whole political party right now hates those. Charlie Kirk died for them. 3,000 people 24 years ago were killed for them. My friends lost their lives defending them. And the people like me had to go do horrible things to horrible people to ensure that our kids would never have to face that evil. I wake up every morning thankful for the life that I'm afforded. Because our, world, it's the perfect part of it. It's not guaranteed. And it's being taken away little by little because we let evil have small victories in the name of tolerance that result in big losses for the peaceful. Maybe it's time to draw a firmer line. And when I say I'll never forget, that's what I mean. That's why I always say, every 9/11, be someone worth dying for, because many did.
Information. Truth is freedom. is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.
How do you get a brand new roof in Greater Boise starting at only $129 per month at Kobex Construction?
We want to update you on the latest in the search to find his assassin because the news is breaking by the minute and what we know right now about motive. Charlie Kirk's killer engraved the ammunition used to murder him with pro-transgender ideology, according to reporting in multiple outlets, to the surprise of literally no one. I have a lot of thoughts on this. I have more to report to you, okay? But I just have to pause here. Of course, that's the first thing I thought yesterday. I'm sure it ran through a lot of the minds of you watching this program as we did it live. Stephen was outspoken. Sorry, not Stephen. Charlie was outspoken on the trans issue and many issues. But there's one particular group that's been running around killing Americans in the name of transgender ideology lately, and it's transgender activists or individuals or those who proclaim that they are. Doesn't mean they're all murderous, but there's a particularly high percentage committing crimes these days. And it is responsible and important to say so, which is what Charlie was doing. The thought that this was a person acting to avenge some sort of trans person or objecting to Charlie's stance on the trans issue is entirely chilling to me, because when Charlie and I first became friends, this was an issue he wasn't even talking about that much, but he was resonating with some on the right and was a growing issue. And he told me that one of the reasons why I kept coming into his algorithm and catching his attention was because we were talking about this issue, and his sister, who's also outspoken and a Christian, had been forwarding him, I guess, a bunch of videos she'd seen on our show. That's what he told me. And of course, like many on the right, it became more and more in his lens over the past few years because it's grown in the public sphere. It's hard to avoid. And you've got the vast majority of Americans right now ignoring it out of a sense of politeness or kindness, a misperceived sense of kindness, and not saying anything about it. And then you've got this smaller faction of us who have been jumping up and down about it. And Charlie became one of them. And I, of course, had become one of them and am one of them and will continue to be one of them. And on that front, to Charlie's killer, there's no such thing as a trans child. Men cannot have babies or chest feed an infant. A man cannot become a woman. A woman cannot become a man. Those are truths, and you will hear them here relentlessly. And it won't just be me. It'll be many of us on the right who will not be silenced and who will make it our mission now to continue saying all the things that you thought you silenced with that bullet. And guess what? You can't take us all out. If people are true to Charlie's legacy, if college students and high school students who felt inspired at all by Charlie feel the need to live up to his example, they'll say it too. And they can't take us all out for speaking the truth about one of the most divisive, awful issues we've ever had infect our culture. I would love to say the left is learning, that the media is learning, and that now that they see yet again that this was an issue behind a brutal assassination, a murder of one of our national gems, that they'll see the error of their ways, that they'll start realizing they cannot keep coddling this dangerous ideology. But I know it won't be this way. I know it's not true. I know because I understand the media, and I know because I saw CNN after Steven Crowder was the first to report this, what was on the cartridge. CNN, and then the Wall Street Journal ultimately matched his reporting, but he broke it, Steven Crowder. CNN popped up a chyron on their screen and put up an article at CNN.com that said cultural phrases were engraved. Cultural phrases were engraved on the cartridges. Here's what the reporting actually says. That it was phrases on the cartridges expressing, quoting here, expressing transgender and anti-fascist ideology. Transgender and anti-fascist ideology, not cultural phrases. And CNN fucking knows that and won't write it because it's still a sacred cow. You can't say anything about the transgender thing because they're so unstable, you might cause another one to do it. And because they're in the protected category that cannot be criticized, or you're a bigot. How many times has that word been used against me for speaking truth on trans? Me, Billboard Chris, Riley Gaines, take your pick. Anyone on the right, anyone who speaks the truth about this issue, and not just this issue. Not just this issue. The anti-fascist ideology is clearly a reference to Charlie's Trump support, because that's what the left says about Trump. He's a fascist. His attempts to undo Joe Biden's immigration mess. That's fascism. Take your pick. And the left and the media, but I repeat myself, uses these phrases about him, this phrase, as though it's not even controversial. It's regularly thrown out there as though it's just factual. But when it comes to actual facts about trans violence, that needs to be buried with amorphous, meaningless phrases like cultural phrases were on the ammo.
Of all the partnerships we have, tell me it's not the most surprising one that you would think.
Especially for dudes. Caldera Lab has a page on their website where they highlight all the studies. Now, these are good studies. 96% reported healthier looking skin. 91% reported smoother looking skin. 87% showed improved appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. It's within a month. So,
it's awesome.
Radiance,
I like that.
Great product.
There's not a lot, especially like products like that. There's a lot of like gimmicky skin, hair type stuff. Like to get a 90+ percentile of people reporting they notice a positive benefit in any direction. I mean, that's pretty rare. That's pretty impressive.
I mean, it's almost all of them.
Yeah,
pretty well.
Why are you not investing in tax liens? No, seriously. Why are you not investing into one of the most incredible real estate strategies that's the most passive and creates the highest rate of return? Now, I bet you're thinking, Brian, I don't even know what that is. And even if I did, I don't know how to do it. I want to show you why I got involved in tax lien certificates. And we're coming to your area to teach a free class. So we won't get into all the specifics, but I want to show you 5 things I want to go over just quickly with you. The first thing about tax liens is it doesn't take a lot of money. We've had students start out with just a couple $100s, and we've had students create their portfolios or scale their portfolios into 7 and 8 digits over the course of a couple years. The second one is, how do I find these tax lien certificates? Now, here's the great part. Most counties across the United States sell tax lien certificates right on their website. We'll show you how to find them at our free training. You can do it right from your own house. The third one is, this is the safest place I have found to get double-digit rates of return. See, most investors, think about yourself right now, think about what you're investing in, are happy to get 5 to 6% on their returns. It's what most of our country is doing. The reason that this strategy is so powerful is because the government mandates.
The Steven Crowder reporting this morning, I pulled it up for you, was given to him, he reports, by an ATF source. And it's an ATF, or by a law enforcement source, and it is an ATF document. And it reads in part as follows. This is clearly an ATF write-up of what they've learned so far, some of which was repeated in the FBI presser this morning, some of which was not. On September 10th, at approximately 12:24 p.m., conservative political influencer Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at the Utah Valley University in Utah. Mr. Kirk was speaking at the university as part of the American Comeback Tour. Multiple law enforcement agencies responded immediately. The suspect fired one shot from an elevated position on a rooftop in an adjacent building on the campus, and surveillance video shows the suspect jumping off and fleeing the area on foot. ATF and other law enforcement located an older model imported Mauser .30-06 caliber bolt action rifle wrapped in a towel in a wooded area near the campus. All of this has been confirmed by the FBI after the fact, after Stevens' report. Wrapped in a towel in a wooded area near the campus. The location of the firearm appears to match the suspect's route of travel. The spent cartridge was still chambered in addition to 3 unspent rounds at the top fed magazine. All cartridges have engraved wording on them expressing transgender and anti-fascist ideology. What the exact quotes are, we don't know. An emergency trace has been submitted to an ATF law enforcement working leads generated by the trace. The firearm and ammo have been taken by the FBI for DNA analysis and fingerprint impressions. Upon completion of forensics, the firearm will be disassembled for additional importer information. Multiple people of interest having contacted or detained because of eyewitness testimony and review of video footage have been, I guess they meant it right. The primary suspect is yet to be identified. ATF is assisting the investigation with multiple other federal, state, and local partners. The case is co-led by the FBI and the Utah Bureau of Investigation, State Bureau. Now, the FBI has also just released 2 images of what they call a person of interest. This just happened. It's 12:09 Eastern on Thursday. He is seen here with a baseball hat, sunglasses, and a shirt that appears to have an American flag on it, along with something else, though it's difficult to decipher. Here's another image taken from a different angle. Again, you can see he's wearing blue jeans, a dark shirt, sunglasses, and a hat. And on the front of his shirt, there appears to be a flag with something else on it. He appears to be white, young, male, in his early 20s. If you have any information on this individual and law enforcement is asking for your help, you are asked to call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-225-5324. They don't have him. He remains at large and obviously is considered dangerous. This morning, the FBI held a press conference and reported the following. Investigators have obtained, quote, high-quality video of the assassin, but will not yet release that to the public. The suspect, who the FBI referred to as a man, appears to be, they said, quote, of college age. Other evidence they have collected includes a palm imprint, they said, on the gun, a forearm imprint, and, quote, a footwear impression. Obviously, we believe that's from the ground leading to or from the college. They also have tracked the shooter's movements from the moment he arrived on campus, thanks to all the security cameras that they have, right up to the moment he escaped. Take a listen.
Through all that work last night, we were able to make a few breakthroughs. We were able to track the movements of the shooter. Starting at 11:52 a.m., the subject arrived on campus, shortly away from campus. We have tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location. After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood. Our investigators have worked through those neighborhoods, contacting anybody they can with doorbell cameras, witnesses, and have thoroughly worked through those communities, trying to identify any leads. We do have good video footage of this individual. We are not going to release that at this time. We are working through some technologies and some ways to identify this individual. If we are unsuccessful, we will reach out to you as the media and we will push that publicly to help us identify them. But we are confident in our abilities right now, and we would like to move forward in a manner that keeps everyone safe and moves this process appropriately.
Just getting this in, and it's no surprise, per the New York Times, efforts to identify the suspect through facial recognition technology did not work. And that's why they are now asking for the public's help to catch him. It's amazing. He appears young in the pictures, and that would track because virtually all of us could be caught by facial recognition. I mean, it's quite vast, the number of pictures that they have of all of us online, not just people like me who are more familiar, but any of us. We had somebody on who walked us through the vast abilities of the facial recognition technology. They can get you when you're just 3/4 of a face, 2/3 of a face, 1/3 of a face. So I suppose the fact that this guy's young limits the number of public pictures of him. Again, assuming it's a him. It looks like a him on the limited pictures that they've released. And what they've said is that they've referred to him as he. The New York Times also reported a short time ago, citing its law enforcement sources, that the weapon and the ammo are being traced by ATF analysts in West Virginia. But that evidence has not yet led to a person of interest. In short, the FBI reported literally everything that was in the Steven Crowder ATF report, except what was written on the cartridges. When inflation jumps, when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, do you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Well, you'd be right. Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. And so they created something special. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000.
Hi, I'm Taylor. I'd like to tell you why so many people in the Treasure Valley choose to use Boise Custom Windows and Doors. We do top.
And it's time for Lefties Losing It, and tonight's edition of Lefties will feature some of the ugliness, some of the utter depravity that has followed the murder of Charlie Kirk, a thoroughly
But then why is your truth the truth?
Yeah, probably the number one question Christians get is, why is Christianity true? Check this out.
Has to be, right? And your argument is God provides us that truth through the Bible. But then why is your truth the truth?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, but through both reason and revelation, though. So God gives us both. Revelation, of course, is the scriptures. Reason is our ability to interact with the natural world to see if the scriptures are actually true. So why is Christianity true? Well, first, let's just test the 10 Commandments. If you follow the 10 Commandments, your life will be objectively better and your society will be objectively better, right? I mean, not killing, not murdering, not stealing, honoring your parents, not having anything above the idea of a sovereign God, right? Resting for 1 day a week, not lying. These are things that we can all agree, like, okay, that's a good way to build society. But let me just one thing. The two miracles that Christianity hinges upon is creation, which I think you're almost there-ish, that there was a beginning to everything. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And then the resurrection. And the resurrection is the greatest, most documented miracle in human history. And we believe, of course, it to be true. It defies every other historical explanation so in order for an atheist to be able to wrestle with the resurrection, you must answer, who is Jesus Christ? Okay, what happened to his body? Why did all of his followers die a death voluntarily afterwards? Why were all the original witnesses women, which in the old world you never would have had women witnesses, right? A lot of misogyny back then. Why did we have all these people that from the first threshold, the second threshold, eyewitnesses say that Jesus Christ rose from the dead? So all of this, canon, and I don't expect you to believe it, is hinging on that one event. So it's not about Jonah the whale, it's not about parting the Red Sea, it's creation, resurrection, that's it. Yeah, and if those two things are true, everything else in the Bible can be true. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I agree that for an atheist to try to disprove theism, or at least Christianity, it would be almost impossible to say, why would people die to say, Jesus died on the cross for me and I saw it. Why would I admit, I'm from your perspective, why would I admit, yeah, I saw him die and rise from the dead.
Well, no, yeah, for example, and so again, the answer people would give is like the Jonestown cult, that people can do really crazy stuff if they're convinced by a certain leader. I'm not convinced by that argument. But for example, like James, the half-brother of Jesus, Paul, who had no reason whatsoever, formerly Saul, persecuted Jews, led a great life, converted to Christianity, died a terrible death in prison, from the upside-down resurrection of Thomas. Like, these people had no reason to die the way they did, yet they saw something that compelled them to all of a sudden put everything on the line, which was the belief that Jesus rose from the dead. Now, this was crazy. The Romans gave them an opportunity, saying, you can believe in Jesus, you just can't say he rose from the dead. They said, no, I refuse to give an inch on that. And so there's something there so powerful that it inspired an early church across an entire region and a religion that swept the world. And so that's enough for me to believe that it's true.
Yeah.
Not to mention, we have if you count Acts, 5 different eyewitness accounts, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and then Acts, of different perspectives of this one singular event. And then we have Josephus, and then we have the second and third rate historians that say that something happened in this region at that time. And then also, I don't expect you to be persuaded by this, but like accepting Jesus into my life changed everything for me. It changes your perspective, changes your worldview, changes who you are from within, and it gives you purpose that nothing else can explain.
That is one of the most powerful pieces of historical evidence. The fact that so many people gave their lives for this random Jewish guy from Nazareth in the midst of the Roman Empire, in the midst of crazy things happening. Here comes this guy from an unknown family, right, and rises up and starts performing miracles and preaching and doing things very against the grain, and then killed like so many other people trying to start a movement, and yet he rises and appears to his followers. Why on earth would you die for a lie? Remember, these apostles went out and proclaimed that he was alive. Why would they do it knowing that they're probably going to die? And then why would it continue to spread like wildfire? There is documentation of people writing from the first few centuries of miracles taking place after the apostles. Not just the book of Acts, but I'm talking about hundreds of years later, miracles happening at the preaching of the word of God and during these church services. And then we see the Roman Empire coming to Christianity to a certain degree. How did that happen? There are a lot of questions out there, and people want to know, why should I follow Jesus? I'm going to tell you something. If you will seek Jesus, you will get answers. If you will humble yourself, you will get answers. I've had to ask a lot of questions, and I've had to be open to correction because, man, I had a lot of crazy beliefs. But as I kept searching, as I kept looking, as I kept reading and opening my heart to the truth, Jesus kept coming and filling me to the point now where I know Jesus Christ is the Son of God. He's the Savior of the world. In a crazy world with like alien stuff and like scientific happenings and whatever else is going on, AI advancements, my faith is only growing in the reality that Jesus is coming back. That this man who died 2,000 years ago and rose again is coming back to rule and reign on this earth. I'm not trusting in an ideology or just a religion. I'm trusting in an actual individual, in Jesus, who I believe was God in the flesh. And I want to encourage all of you guys out there, whether you're Christian or not, to simply seek and be open to who God is, because there's a lot of Christians out there that don't have the right belief system concerning the Lord. They don't have the right theology and doctrine, and that's okay as long as you're humble and open to receiving correction by the Holy Spirit. For anybody out there, I encourage you to read the New Testament every single day and pray to God throughout your day. Don't just pray to God one time and that's it. I'm talking about praying to God throughout the day, and then having a time where you read the Bible, specifically the New Testament, and you ask questions to the Lord and say, Lord, I want to know answers. I want to seek the truth. I want to know who you truly are. As we learn to develop this walk with God, our lives grow in faith, and it's pretty amazing. It can be very difficult as you're starting off. I know for me, it's been over 10 years, and it's only increased every single year as I keep Jesus the focus of my life. But hey, I'll see you guys in the next one. God bless you.
This is the easiest hack in 2025 to clean your dog's teeth.
If your dog's teeth looks like this, try this easy food bowl loophole and watch it turn into this.
This is Elliot Thorne, his wife Maddie Thorne, and then also Lauren Warren. I'm so sorry. They were actually at the event with their kids. The baby was there. Elliot, you were 8 feet away.
Yeah. I started out in the morning. I was going to go by myself, and I took the day off from work because, you know, how often does Charlie Kirk come into town? You know, it's one of my favorite speakers and debaters, and she told me, hey, I want to get out of the house and go with you, and so we did. Brought my son along with me, and I got about 8 feet from the stage because I was waiting in line because I wanted to ask Charlie questions, and I was excited to be able to do that. She waved me over to take care of our son in the heat. We got about 15 feet from the stage, and it was a quiet, eerie experience that kind of went about 3 seconds. The second question person asked their questions. As soon as they asked their questions about the transgender issue with gun violence and mass shootings, Charlie said, you know, are you talking about gang violence? And as soon as he put the mic down, we heard the shot because it went quiet for about 3 seconds, enough for us to hear the shot, and it sounded like a distant shot. And I saw that the bullet had hit into his neck, and then it exited out his back of his neck or the side of his neck. I don't know what it was, but not to be too graphic, but he went back to his left-hand side. At that moment, we all kind of paused. We didn't realize like what had happened for 3 to 4 seconds. It was just surreal. Couldn't believe it. But then we saw him go back on the ground. And then at that moment, all I could think about was my family. I remember my wife screaming to me, grab the children, grab the children. My father-in-law was grabbing her son, Riv, and she was behind getting tucked and covered, and she was getting pushed down by her dad. And I just remember as a father, you know, trying to lay my body on top of my son and my wife. And the only thing that I could think of was if this is a mass shooting happening at the Utah Valley University, to please hit me, not my child. I remember looking up for a split second and I saw about 4 or 5 individuals carrying Charlie away, and he had a gruesome scene going down the side of his left side of his body. And it was just an extremely traumatic experience. For me, you know, this is not a political agenda on my end to come and speak to the news. We were actually trying to come and get our stroller here. We were thinking that people put it in the hallways for us to come and grab, but it's an active crime scene, so we can't get our stuff. And now here we are talking to you guys. But political beliefs aside, because I'm not going to dive into that, but we definitely have a mental, spiritual, and emotional crisis going on in our country right now that is affecting everybody. No father should have to, no father should have to lay on their child or my wife wondering if I'm going to get hit by a bullet. No child should have to scream and wonder if they're going to get shot at a university for a political event. This is heart-wrenching. I definitely did not vote for this in this country. I'm hoping that our administration will take stuff like this very seriously, considering the fact, and help us to continue to grow as a country and heal this wound that's happening inside of us, man. So
I'm so sorry, Elliot. I mean, your stroller is still. I saw your stroller in the pictures.
Yeah.
Your stroller is out there, and you dove on top of the baby.
Yeah, I mean, I jumped down and just tried to cover him as best I could, and then my husband came over and got back on top of me. I mean, my dad, everybody was hunkering down. It was super scary. I mean, I've never experienced something like that before. I mean, seeing a shooting in real life is different than what you would witness on TV or anything like that. You know, it's super scary.
And you were right there also, just next to them.
I had my baby in my arms as well. I looked down right at the second that it happened, but I looked up at my dad and he just had his hands by his face and just jumped on top of me and my son. And we were hunkered down by the cement wall. And the second we didn't hear any more shots, we jumped up and my dad grabbed my son and Elliot grabbed his son, and we ran out as quickly as we could, just trying to make sure that our babies were safe.
Well, I'm so glad they are, and I'm so sorry, Elliot, what you had to witness out there, all of you. And thank you for talking with us. And it's really emotional. I'm sorry. And these are the kinds of stories that you're hearing out here, Nicole. I mean, entire families that were coming out to be part of this event with their kids and their babies. And you hear it. I mean, this whole family had to dive on top of their children when they heard the shot.
Yeah, so much trauma to process for so many, including children and parents trying to figure out what to tell their kids. Brian Enton, live for us there on the ground in Utah. Brian, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.
It happened in broad daylight at an event at Utah Valley University. As Charlie Kirk addressed the crowd, a single fatal shot was fired.
I hear up top, I just saw him grab, it looked like his neck, and there's just blood pouring out everywhere, and his eyes kind of rolled back.
This video shows security rushing 31-year-old Charlie Kirk to the hospital. The panicked crowd ran for cover.
It's traumatizing, you know, it scares. I don't even want to go to school tomorrow.
President Trump confirmed the death on Truth Social. Kirk was a rising star in conservative politics and a fierce ally of the president's. He was a co-founder of Turning Point USA, which advocates for conservative politics on university campuses. Well known to CBS News chief Washington analyst Bob Costa.
I have covered
Charlie Kirk for a long time, have spoken to him at so many political events over the years. This is someone who has galvanized conservatives across the country. He is seen as someone who was really able to gather the Trump movement, especially those under 30, and make them into a force.
Students streamed off campus as news spread, and from both sides of the political spectrum, lawmakers condemned the shooting, calling for an end to political violence.
Pay attention, because this right here, the buy one, get one free deal on Vanish holsters, is soon going to be a little bit pricier for you. That's right, prices finally are going up. We just have a few more weeks of this special where you can get it right now for the special price on the next page. And after that, we'll be hiking the price just a little bit, but hey, $1 saved is $1 earned. So get this now and let me show you why it's probably the perfect holster for you.
And it appears there is the president inside of the clubhouse. Let's take you out to it in full here on Live Now from Fox.
Well, you're going to win. I'll tell you what, George Steinbrenner was a great friend of mine. The whole family, it's a great family, and Randy is wonderful, and I will say you're going to win. George used to coach. For some reason, I don't know what it was, we won every time I came. Randy, is that right? Every time we came, we'd win a game, and he'd call me. He was, you think that was easy sitting with him for a game? It wasn't. It was brutal. You were exhausted at the end, but he won, and you're going to win. You're going to go all the way, and you'll get in the playoff, and I think you're going to do, I think we'll start off, how about tonight? We'll start from tonight on, and you're going to do well. Randy was telling me the Boston Red Sox came to the Oval Office. They wanted to come, so I said, what am I going to do, say no? So, and they won 15 games in a row.
So that was bad news, bad news. We're changing the luck here right now, Mr.
We're going to change it right now. So I just want to wish you guys a lot of luck. You're great players. I know every one of you. Let me shake hands around here. Come on. Shake their hands. I shake their hands. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm here at Will.
You started out tonight, right?
Yes, sir.
Good? How are you? Good? How you go? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. I wish it was a little bit bigger, you know. A little bit bigger. What a good player. What a good player. So you have that much muscle, you have to hit the ball further. You're a fantastic player. I appreciate that. Unbelievable player. Thank you. I appreciate that. Great to know you. Thank you. Thank you. It's on. It's my honor. Let's give him a kiss. Hey man, how nice to see you get out there and win tonight, right? Straight on. Thank you. My pleasure. Good job. Real honor.
In there, as you saw President Trump inside of the Yankees clubhouse, shaking hands with different members of that club, including the captain, Aaron Judge, 44 home runs, and just talking about the size of the baseball player that is. Also shaking hands, Anthony Volpe, Paul Goldschmidt. We saw Garrett Cole there on hand, the manager, Aaron Boone, also with smiles there, greeting him here on an emotional 9/11, a September 11th there in New York City. You also saw them wearing some of those police hats there to honor the heroes from that day some 24 years ago.
Let me just ask you first for your reaction to the horrible news. I know you've said that Charlie was like a brother to you.
He was.
Pay attention, because this right here, the buy one, get one free deal on Vanish holsters, is soon going to be a little bit pricier for you. That's right, prices finally are going up. We just have a few more.
House Speaker Mike Johnson joins me now. So, Speaker, I mean, there was an opportunity to have a prayer on the House floor today. It didn't even happen. There was just yelling and screaming. I mean, what's this country come to?
It was a sad day on Capitol Hill. It was, Jesse. We're all still kind of in shock. I mean, there are many Republican members in Congress who are friends with Charlie. He was a good friend of mine. I mean, he was a man of deep faith, as you know. He and I talked about that a lot. He was a man of deep conviction. I mean, I think he brought more productive content to the free marketplace of ideas than anybody in his generation. He was a singular talent. He'll be greatly missed, and it doesn't even seem real tonight, honestly. But the mood in Congress today was something unlike I haven't seen since that shooting that involved the congressional members on the baseball field that Ron DeSantis was just referring to. I mean, a really somber mood and hard to describe, really. I led the chamber in a moment of prayer and quiet reflection, which is the custom in the House. And then a motion was made on the floor to have a vocal prayer, and it turned into an argument. You know, that's where our politics are in the country right now. We have got to turn the heat down a little bit. We got to have civil discourse. The great tragic irony about this, one of the tragedies, is that Charlie represented that, the best of it. I mean, he's the guy that was the champion out on the front lines having the debate. But he loved on the people that disagreed with him, right?
Yeah, he
didn't regard them as enemies. That was the whole point. He loved it, and he loved the debate. He loved the exchange, and he loved the people that were on the other side of the table. And that's what's so important for us to remember. We shouldn't regard one another as enemies. We're fellow Americans, and we should have vigorous debate. But it cannot lead to political violence. It's just too much.
You know, as sharp as his tongue was, and it was sharp, he had such a gentle soul. And he embraced his political opponents, if you can call them that, like they were his brother, they were his sister. They could have it out and ask each other questions. And then afterwards, they could kind of have a laugh about it. You know, we kind of mixed it up, and that was fun. And we'll see you back here next campus tour. I mean, that's kind of what this country's been all about since the founders, since the Lincoln-Douglas debates, since presidential debates. I mean, this is what we do on Fox. I mean, it's a cable channel where we just debate on the 5 with other people, and then afterwards, maybe we'll go get a drink. Why can't we do that? Why is there such a threat to free speech in this country?
You know, I think part of the dynamic now that did not exist in previous generations is social media. It's really been a toxin in politics, and it's made it a much more sort of hostile environment to have those kind of discussions and debates, and we lament that. I mean, it's a sad development, but we've got to develop as the technology does, and we have to address it. We have to address the humanity of people. We have to recognize that there is this sort of level of civility that we have to maintain. It's part of the fabric and tradition of America. They've always had vigorous debates. I mean, they had vigorous debates at the founding of the country 250 years ago, but they did not regard one another as enemies, and they were able to work it out and still be friends and colleagues. And we got to bring that spirit back. I mean, I think leaders on both sides of the aisle need to do that. And this is a moment. I think something changed today. I really do. There's a different kind of mood now on Capitol Hill and around the country. And I think it's an opportunity for us to speak truth into that. Let's talk about the founding principles of America that Charlie Kirk was a champion of, our Judeo-Christian foundations, the moral consensus that makes us who we are in a country. That's really important for us to talk about, especially on the eve of the 250th anniversary of the greatest nation in the history of the world. This is not who we are.
I feel the gravity of the moment you're talking about. I know you do, your colleagues do, and millions of Americans do. But what if the other side doesn't? What do we do? What if they don't get it? I mean, you look at some of these other cable channels, they don't get it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And some of the things that have been said on the leftist, networks is just, it's incredible, outrageous. I hope they regret some of the things they were saying on live television. I hope that they'll come back and apologize for that, but maybe they won't. But I tell you what we need to do is spend time trying to see one another as people again. Somebody said it's hard to hate someone if you know the names of their children.
Mhm.
It's about relationship, right? And our job in Congress is to convince the people on the other side of the aisle that our argument is correct. Charlie was a great model for that because he never shied away from debate, but he never hated the guy that he was debating. That was the key. He believed in the biblical admonitions. You know, there's a passage in the New Testament that says all of us as Christians, believers, we're supposed to be engaged ultimately in the ministry of reconciliation. What does that mean? It means that you leave the door open to reconcile with those who disagree. And that, you know, a gentle word and a gentle admonition is better than returning fire for fire, right? Sometimes we got to remember those principles. And I think Charlie was one of the best at it. Yeah, he had sharp debates, but he always went and was willing to put his arm around the person that he was debating. And the reason that he was so engaged and so passionate about what he did, Jesse, I know he and I talked about this, is because he genuinely loved everybody, and he wanted to bring them to the truth.
Yeah.
And he was so effective at doing it. And I don't know if anybody will be able to fill those shoes.
Yeah, well, no one on our side is going to start shooting anybody. We know that for sure. You're saying there should be gentle admonition. I think maybe it could be a little bit more firm this time so they get it, because sometimes they need a little to understand. Very good talking to you. Very sad day. May peace be with you.
It is. Thanks, my friend. You too.
Value.
Why are you not investing in tax liens? No, seriously. Why are you not investing into one of the most...
Donald Trump just weighing in. The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you. Emily Jashinsky's with me. It's really too painful to really comprehend right now, Emily. You know, it's like, it's too big and it's too severe a loss. It's too profound a commentary on who we are as a country. It's overwhelming.
Megan, I've been watching your whole broadcast, and I don't know how you've done it. We can find comfort in Romans 8:28. All things happen for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. All things happen for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. And that's not always immediately obvious to us, but we can take comfort in it now. You know, I didn't know Charlie as well as you did, but we did come up together. Charlie was 31, I was 32, or I am 32. I can't believe I'm using past tense to talk about Charlie Kirk right now. You know, Glenn Beck just said something right before he left that I thought was really important. He said Charlie had been on his faith journey. He had grown in his faith journey. And I think that's something that's really abundantly obvious as people have watched his career. Not only did he evolve with the culture, and I think start to really dial in to the deep and evil roots of some of the cultural sicknesses that we experience, in fact, that we're experiencing right now. But I think also he nudged our culture along with him, and he did it. He's been a part of this revolution technologically that we've seen. And I think you've mentioned this a couple of times over the course of the broadcast, all of the people who have seen Charlie on their little screens, on their iPhones, almost every day, sometimes multiple times a day, just as they're scrolling through TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Twitter. And those people, Gen Z, I mean, he's almost as close to monoculture as Gen Z gets. Everybody felt like they knew Charlie Kirk. Even if they didn't like Charlie Kirk, they felt like they knew Charlie Kirk. They felt like they knew Charlie Kirk, and they saw him grow up. And so I think you've mentioned this a couple of times. We are, if anything, underestimating as a society right now how profoundly this will reverberate on the culture.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know if the left fully comprehends how important he was to us. I really don't. I'm not sure they appreciate. They tried to marginalize him and make him into this fringy character who was just some sort of nutcase who would go on campuses and stir up shit. And that is such a misrepresentation of this noble person. And I don't have my team sending me the nasty fucking things that people are posting on Blue Sky and the idiocy happening on MSNBC. I can't tolerate it right now. I can't handle it right now. All I can handle is figuring out who did it, who fucking did this, and bringing them to justice and making sure they don't hurt anybody else, and then doing everything we can to do two things: supporting his family, including his work family, and making damn sure that every message he brought is screamed from the mountaintop in greater volume on more college campuses. In fact, I'm prepared to go. I'll go anywhere that the Turning Point team wants me to go. I will say exactly what Charlie would have said anywhere they ask me to. And all of my conservative friends need to do the same and say it the way Charlie would have said it, boldly and unafraid. That's the only possible way through this, to live up to his legacy, continue his messaging, and support the enormous family that loved him. He wouldn't have it any other way. He would be so angry at us if he thought that even one of us cowered now, if even one of us cowered or stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. He, you know, this is over the course of his career, his faith grew, and we were just talking about this, but it was really something that you could see happening in real time. And I think he really came to understand that this is not just about red team or blue team, but this is about a deeper crisis of meaning and a deeper crisis of purpose. And Charlie and I disagreed on things over the years, as recently as a couple of weeks ago. Never publicly that I can think of, but he developed such I think a rich appreciation for his faith and for the importance of seeing politics and faith as being intertwined, but also as a bravery. And that gets missed. I mean, I feel like we've gotten so used to the America that you grew up in, Megan, that I grew up in, after it felt like the dust had settled from the 1960s. And we've been so blessed to live in this sliver of human history that's relatively peaceful. The sliver of human history that's relatively peaceful. And I think that has, I sadly think we're looking at that in the rearview mirror every single day, more and more. And I think, to your point about conservatives going out and being brave now, I think we're going to have to get used to legitimately being brave, not being brave, for posting something controversial on X, but really, we're talking about historical bravery probably.
Absolutely right. The recent, like the last month or two, I don't know, Charlie'd been dabbling with going on Fox here and there, which, was kind of breakthrough because they wouldn't have Charlie Kirk for most of the time. I give them no credit for this. They finally caught on to the fact that Charlie was a genius, an exceptional talent, and decided to, give him a chance on Fox. I'm sorry, I'm just feeling bitter right now. It's no offense to Fox. They gave him a platform and he took it, and that's a good thing. He went on Fox and Friends. He subbed as a host on Fox and Friends. And it was just last month, and his daughter came on the set. He allowed it, and he was fine with it airing, so we're going to air it here. Here it is.
That is the best.
Oh my God. Emily, that poor girl, that poor family, so he's never going to walk her down the aisle. He's never going to see them grow up. He's never going to have another child with this beautiful Erica. Like, he would bring them on the road, whenever I'd go to these events, they'd be there. His family was everything to him. And that fucker shot him down in the prime of his life without a thought for those children.
been shown in studies to actually make you look younger.
I mean, I actually really notice. You know me, I'm always like Mr. Skeptical.
I get stopped on the street sometimes. People are like, man, you look like you could still play, still look so young.
You look amazing.
1 week, and I was pretty blown away at the difference it made.
You're gonna notice a big change in your skin, your confidence. Crazy what it does.
MSNBC has fired political analyst Matthew Dowd, the network's president, releasing this statement, I'm quoting. During our breaking news coverage of the shooting of Charlie Kirk, Matthew Dowd made comments that were inappropriate, insensitive, and unacceptable. We apologize for his statements, as has he. There is no place for violence in America, political or otherwise, end quote. Outkick founder Clay Travis joins me now. Prior to his firing, Dowd had made disparaging comments about Charlie Kirk. What do you say to that?
I'm not surprised, sadly, how MSNBC responded, because I think when you analyze this situation in a larger context, it's the natural outgrowth of the idea that words are violence, and that what people say that you don't like and you may disagree with is not only unacceptable, but violence in response to it is acceptable. Because if you accept the argument that words are violence, which is effectively a version of what MSNBC just fired this Matthew Dowd fellow for, then it is a natural outgrowth that violence can be used to respond to words. And what I found so particularly striking and in many ways metaphorically resonant was Charlie Kirk was having a free speech event on a college campus. Yeah. There was an open mic for anyone to step to and argue against what he believed. This was the full flourishment of the marketplace of ideas with young people. And instead of stepping to the mic and disputing and arguing against whatever Charlie Kirk might hold to be true, that shooter decided to kill Charlie Kirk. And I think ultimately what it was also resonant and symbolic of was no one on the left could argue better than Charlie. Yeah. And so the end result was they felt they had to kill him to silence him.
One of the most articulate young men I've ever seen. And I'm really surprised at the number of young people that knew about Charlie Kirk and were upset at his passing. I know teens and preteens who told me about this in most upsetting terms. I believe you have young sons who had some kind of action today.
Yeah, and first, before I tell you what my kids did, I think there's probably a lot of parents and grandparents out there that may not know who Charlie Kirk is very well, because he addressed and spoke to young people to such an extent that there's probably a lot of 50, 60, 70-year-old people out there who really don't know who Charlie Kirk is. And if you've got kids or grandkids in your family, I think maybe you could ask them about this, because they may be hurting and you may have no idea. And in particular, my own kids, so I've got 3 boys, 17, 14, and 10. My 2 oldest boys, and they hate to do this at their school, they wore jackets and ties today to the school. And it's an all-boys school. Every boy just about in the entire school, this was all student-generated. They said, as a show of respect and appreciation for Charlie Kirk, let's all wear jackets and ties to school tomorrow. So virtually the entire campus today, where I live in Nashville, of their school is kids wearing jackets and ties in honor of Charlie Kirk, who many of them held to be a hero.
What worries me is that campus events will not feature conservatives in the future because it's too dangerous and it costs too much to make them secure. That's a real concern out there.
I think it is a concern, and I think that's why people out there, including myself, I'm going to be on a campus this weekend at a big football game in the South for Fox Sports. And I'm not going to change anything about what I was going to do, because what this is a terrorism. Let's make no mistake about it. And what the desire to do is to make people fearful to live their lives, as all terror attacks do. I think it's connected with the 24th anniversary, unfortunately, of 9/11. Freedom is always going to have people who are terrified by it and seek to tear it from those of us who love it.
And it's incumbent upon those of us who are living, both now and in the future, to continue to understand that there is a price to pay for freedom, whether it's freedom of speech, whether it's freedom of human rights. And there's always going to be evil trying to take it from us.
It is freedom of speech and free and open debate that will bring us together and stop dividing us. Trey Clavis, thanks for joining us, Clay. Great pleasure to be with you today. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Charlie Kirk, 31, husband, father of 2, man of God. And he's dead today after being shot at a free speech event in Utah Valley University. This guy commanded a bigger presence among the youth of America than I think probably anybody else, arguably delivering a substantial portion of the president's vote in that demographic. I mean, this guy was incredibly well respected for his public persona, but his unwavering commitment to truth is never going to be, I mean, that's going to live on forever. He was a common figure at basically every single Trump event. He was somewhat regular on this network. Almost everyone here at Newsmax knew him in some way, shape, or form. I mean, it's, for all of us here, we were standing around before this show, before all the other shows, right when this happened, looking at each other in disbelief. It's surreal that we're reporting on this. And as of now, that shooter's still at large. We have basically no reports on whether or not the shooter has they even have any leads on this shooter, definitely not been apprehended. But I think it's time to have a broader conversation, because this changes everything. This was the first of many scheduled events that he was supposed to do on his American comeback tour at college campuses. Mid-sentence, while ironically discussing transgender mass shooters, he was shot at an event where everybody was encouraged, like-minded or not, to freely express their political opinions. Like, how many times have we been told, though, that MAGA is the problem? I'm getting honestly sick of it. Just this week on CNN, though, Van Jones called out Charlie Kirk personally.
For someone like Charlie Kirk, he should be ashamed of himself. No one mentioned the word race, white, black, or anything except him.
Yeah, that's what we're dealing with here. No Republicans have tried to assassinate Democrats in the last 18 months that I know of. We're not the problem. People like Van Jones are. I seem to remember 2 deranged leftists who tried and planned to assassinate Donald Trump, and now someone just assassinated Charlie Kirk for free speech. One of MAGA's most prominent, outspoken surrogates. This is not how a civilized society acts. The left is a problem. It doesn't have a problem. They are the problem. Because every time something like this happens with a conservative victim, or in the case of even the North Carolina woman who had no known political leanings, who was killed, murdered, at best, there's some lackadaisical response. There's no mass condemnation of political or racial violence. And if there is, it comes with some sort of caveat. It's unbelievable. I'm done tiptoeing around this issue. Another person is dead. I knew Charlie Kirk personally. I mean, we weren't best friends, but I knew him fairly well. I've spoken at events with him similar to this. I mean, like, a lot of us were sitting downstairs before the show thinking that could have been us. That could have been one of us. Any other host at this network who associates with him. The left lectures us about saving democracy at every corner, yet it's members of their party who's trying and succeeding, as we saw today, in assassinating opposing voices, which is like the fundamental principle that behind the democracy that elects our constitutional republic. Unlike the left, I'm not jumping to like irrational or emotional conclusions. I'm not even jumping to legislation here, but rather we need a cultural shift. I mean, this type of stuff radicalizes people. Like, how many conservatives are nervous about this? I am. I carry a gun and I'm nervous about this stuff. America needs to cast away, America, society at large. You need to cast away, berate, single out, report people who even remotely justify this.
He's also a controversial figure at times. He goes into these various college campuses, pushes conservative issues, gets into heated back and forth often with these students on these college campuses. But of course, none of that is violent.
The point of the First Amendment is to be able to have these conversations that sometimes are uncomfortable, sometimes that we don't agree with, The point of this type of violence is to shut this event that was signed against Charlie Kirk. They had 7,000 people try to stop him from coming to that university and deny his First Amendment rights because they disagreed with it. Maybe you should start with looking into all 7,000 people who signed that petition. Just saying. The same people who rushed to condemn any narrative whatsoever against the young Ukrainian immigrant who was stabbed by a black man. Within 18 minutes of this shooting, though, this is what NBC tweets out. Can't be political on their side, but they tweet out breaking shots fired at Utah Valley University featuring right-wing political activist Charlie Kirk. Katie Tur. She's not even interested in a solution. She's just worried about Trump's reaction.
After one of the Doge employees was allegedly attacked in Washington, D.C., that's what Donald Trump used as justification to send in federal troops into Washington, D.C. to get things under control. The carjacking situation, he used that. And I know it's hard to predict the future, Mark, but you can imagine the administration using this as a justification for something.
I mean, get bent, lady. You're damn right Trump's going to do something about this, because this is what we pay taxes for. So kids on a college campus don't have to worry about their speaker getting shot right in front of them. But I mean, like, immediate deflection to any feasible option.